Hey everybody, welcome to Wither and Bloom Studios. We are here to start a new Daggerheart session called A Clockwork Silence. Welcome to the stream, everybody. You guys ready to play?
Yeah!
Huzzah! Do it.
Huzzah.
I'm so back. We're so back.
We are so back, and we're ready to play. We've been looking forward to this for quite some time. We are, we're not new to Daggerheart. We've been playing since the earliest betas. We're excited that the new edition is out. We have done quite a bit with Daggerheart at Wither and Bloom Studios. We had a 17-hour marathon that we participated in, which was pretty awesome.
It was beautiful.
Right? And now Rich and I have been doing some Daggerheart Slims, which are less than 30-minute one-on-one Daggerheart sessions. So this is going to be a slightly longer session, a mini series. Tonight is session 0, and then we're going to be doing sessions 1, 2, and 3. So we're looking forward to bringing you those. So I think we should start off with some character introductions, or I should say player introductions. Ooh. My bad. Yes. Who wants to start?
I mean, Atticus.
Oh God.
All right. Hi. Do you know who you are?
Yeah.
I think my name is...
I mean, I'm non-binary, so not knowing who you are for a certain period of time is kind of on theme for me. But I'm Atticus. I use they, them pronouns. This is my first time playing Daggerheart, so I'm really, really excited. I mean, if you're not new to WAB, you've probably seen me in the Rising campaign, currently as Electo, which has been a ton of fun. I love all these lunatics in this room, and I am very excited. I've been meaning to get into Daggerheart for a while, and when I found out that everyone was getting in on it, I was like, I need to do that. So we're here now. Yeah.
Liv.
We're going in a circle. Wow, way to just tell everybody who everybody
Bro.
is.
Oh, I'm
Hi.
sorry.
My name's
No surprise
Olivia.
now.
Yeah, I know. I can't try to
Spoiler
shock
warning.
anyone. My name is Olivia. I played the beta version of Daggerheart. Haven't played since, so this is gonna be fun. I also play in the Rising campaign as Remy. But I'm excited. What else are we supposed to say about ourselves? Right
That's
now?
pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
That's
good.
pretty much. Oh, my pronouns are she, her. That's it.
Cool.
Rich.
Dude, the spoil, man.
No.
Hi, I'm Rich. I play a lot of games here at Wither and Bloom Studios. I was in the Marathon game, and I'm in the Rising campaign as well. And I'm really excited to play Daggerheart once again. And yeah, outside of here, I'm an actor full-time, so I love creating characters and doing this stuff. So very excited. We're not talking about characters right now, right?
No, we're not doing
This is
characters.
people introductions.
People introductions.
Who?
Garrett.
Oh, well. Now
Wow,
that you
we
just said
all
my name.
spoil.
We're
Just throwing
Garrett.
it right around the table, aren't we?
Hey there, Garrett. Daggerheart, like Rich said, I played in the long marathon. So I guess Rich and I are the Daggerheart experts right now. Everyone's got a little piece of Daggerheart. Well, actually, this is Addie's first time.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Cherry.
yeah,
Cherry?
we get to break that cherry for Addie.
Wow.
Pop it.
Anyway,
Oh my God.
so hey, that's the crazy fun stuff we do here. But no, I mean, I play in the Rising campaign. We all do. I play Bran.
You played an awesome character in Andira's Embers.
Oh, well, yeah. I did play in, we did another limited series, Daggerheart, Andira's Embers. I play, we've played some Daggerheart.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a little bit under my belt. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Eric?
Well, hello there. My name is Eric. I play here at Wither and Bloom a lot as Thrud. Done one of the beta test games on the Daggerheart, so I have a little bit of a left toe dipped into it. Not the right toe, the left toe.
The left
Get it
toe.
straight. I'm super stoked to be here with all these loonies and playing new fun stuff and seeing what kind of crazy shit we get into.
Yup.
Todd, take it away.
Well, thanks, Eric. My name is Todd, and I will be your GM tonight. And I have been a lifelong game master, dungeon master, world builder, game enthusiast. I love doing this stuff. So this world that we're going to explore is my homebrew campaign setting. And I've been, adapting this for quite some time now. And it's something that I really enjoy doing. I love working collaboratively. Storytelling is something that I've been passionate about for most of my life. It has crept into my art. Formally, I'm a sculptor, but I'm also a storyteller. And so that's why this comes, I'm not going to say it comes naturally because I can't say that, but I do feel like it's something that I'm passionate about. So I'm hoping to take you down a rabbit hole tonight. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that A Clockwork Silence, which is the name of this campaign that we're doing, by the time we're done at the end of July, will be available as a campaign frame and as a module on our website. I'm also going to be producing that in print version, fingers crossed, by September. And when you order that, if you want to order that, there will be physically, professionally produced cards that accompany this world in there, which I'm working on. So I'm really excited about that. But let's not dwell too long on that.
We love cards.
Yes, I love cards. Cards are my thing. So yeah. So we've got a fair bit of work to do tonight. I am going to show a couple of cards. We're not going to be showing Daggerheart's actual art because that's something we don't do on the channel. But a couple of things I kind of want to say first before we get into this is, number one, we're new. Some of us are new at this, right? So we're going to be kind of playing our way through as we learn. So for my Daggerheart aficionados that are out there in the chat, do not be afraid to correct on rule structure in the chat. We'll see it as we can, correct it where we can. And, for our players that might be new at this, we want to encourage them to learn the game and enjoy it. So, some gentle recorrecting of things is totally okay. Two, I'm going to be introducing a couple of alt homebrew rules in this. And one of the things in the community gaming license that's put forth by Darrington Press states that if you are straying from the rules as written in the core rule book, that we need to state that. So I'm not only going to put that in the description below once this video is done, I'd like to state that several times during this, and I'll make it very clear which ones I'm doing. So we're also excited about that. Okay, so I just kind of want to open this up to a general conversation right now about picking characters in Daggerheart and where we're at. I think one of the things we're going to do is I'll go over what the session is going to be about in a minute, but I didn't tell you a whole lot about what it is we're going to be doing tonight. Like you kind of know the world a little bit, you understand a little bit about it, but what were your thoughts when I told you that we were going to do this and we had to sort of begin to lay out characters?
I'll go.
Go, Addy.
In experience in playing in Rising and also playing in Green, I can only speak for myself when I say that I absolutely fell in love with Vesper. Like, really, really rich, unique world building. And I watched a bit of Andira's Embers, and I was like, all right, so Amicora as a place is really, really interesting, and I think, I wanted to get into it for so long, and I'm so glad that we're doing this.
Awesome.
Can I jump off of that?
Yeah.
It's really cool seeing where Amicora has come, because when we first started playing Green, was that a year or so ago?
Over a year ago, yeah.
Yeah. Me and Olivia kind of talked about Amicora as a whole and kind of gave it its vibe. It's like rough and tumble, gang riddled nature, and seeing where it's come. I love playing in that space.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that's something that's important to me to hear that, because, my world building depends on you and how you as players collaborate and help build and flesh out that story. And yeah, Amicora was a place on that map that was totally unformed until the two of you sort of had a conjoined backstory and built that out for me. And all of a sudden I started thinking about how I had to get that backstory into the world. So you, in a lot of ways, helped give birth to this space that we're going to play in for this campaign.
That's pretty
Let's
cool.
go.
Was that a you wanted to go or just a high five?
No, that was a we're
right.
high-fiving.
So what I was gonna say, Brit, I don't know. Rich,
That was really respectful of you,
Rich,
Gary.
you raised your hand after Addie and said, "Can I bounce off of that?"
Yeah.
So I didn't know if Olivia wanted to bounce on
I
that.
love the vibes.
But
so
you know,
polite
here,
tonight.
hands up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bounce off of what Rich just said because we're just talking about like kind of character inspo and whatnot right now. And what Rich was saying about Amicora, we played the Andira's Embers in Amicora. So I have a little experience with this town. Like I know you and Olivia, like in the main campaign, kind of worked on the world building on it. But the experience that I got from playing that Daggerheart, short series, is Amicora is kind of like a rough and tumble town, like seedy underbelly gangs, lots of stuff like that. So I pulled inspiration from that. I think really for my character. So it kind of helped. I know some of you weren't involved in that, but you said, Addie, you watched a little bit of it, so you were excited to play in that space.
If I could bounce off that.
A lot of bouncing
Wonderful.
here.
We're bouncing.
We're bouncy.
Bouncing.
Kind of like yeah, kind of the idea of the rough and tumble nature, but then also in talking about and also like seeing some of the discussion around clanks, and also like the theme of like just looking at even the Clockwork Silence thumbnails of like this like gear, almost like pseudo steampunky vibe. It kind of like it feels a little like a I don't know like a Coruscant underbelly kind of a thing, or like a bigger Mos Eisley. I don't know where all the Star Wars references just came from.
Yeah.
We were
But,
talking about it before the
like,
stream started. So.
It's kind of on
I don't know.
brand.
Yeah, but like kind of that idea kind of just influenced some of my character creation. Was like we've got this like down to not necessarily down to earth, but this rugged and real space that also has these really cool elements of machine-based magic.
What's really funny about the Star Wars references is I have a Star Wars reference tonight that's part of my world building that I'm worried is too literally connected to Star Wars, and I was actually going to ask for input later on whether or not I need to change it. So it's odd that you're all bringing this up now and you're also making me really uncomfortable with it. I'm like, oh God, I need to change this. I know it.
Just do it. Just go there.
I'm not going to reveal it yet. I'm gonna show you in a little while. Well, let me ask you this. In any good session zero, and actually the Daggerheart core rulebook points this out when you start looking at models for how to run a session zero, is they talk about a framework they refer to with the acronym CATS, which stands for core, aim, tone, and subject. And a lot of that is about what you, as the players, want to get out of this game, and what my expectations as a GM are for this game. So, a lot of the times, especially with a group that's very familiar with playing with one another, which we are, this might be something that we've already kind of explored, known, and come to sort of be comfortable with all along. But I think for the sake of the people that are watching our stream, it's important to just kind of talk about, number one, are there any forbidden subjects in the game for any of you? Are there any things like... that are trigger mechanisms for you, things that would just, kick this game in a bad direction for you. If there's anything like that, we should talk about it. I think the tone of the game, in general, the tone of this campaign, is a dark one. Amicora is a rough and tumble city. It's got a very strong port city economy, but it is also based very heavily in an early form of clank technology. So there is a science and tech side to it. There is a sort of black market and underground side to it. And there's also a very sort of heavy political, commerce-driven side to it. So that can all add to be something that is, like I have a mechanic that I'm going to introduce that's new tonight that is, about whether or not you're welcome in a place. That could be troubling for some people. So when I get there, I want to hear about that. Okay, don't stop me. If there's anything you want to talk about now, though, in that regard, let's bring that up. Does anybody have anything?
So we're just talking about like boundaries at the moment?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is probably a given, but I mean, I whenever I'm running or playing in games at session 0, I make this known. But assault is just a no-go for me in gaming spaces.
And by assault, you clearly don't mean like combat-based encounters, because technically you're talking about sexual assault.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, no need for that in our games.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I play games because I like to get out of the real world, and that kind of nasty shit happens in the real world. So we can leave that one outside.
okay.
Yeah.
I think that's totally expected. Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No.
Did you say we're also talking about like stuff we're looking to get out of this? Is that part of this?
Yeah, what are you looking to get out of it as players, or as, creative individuals, or as escapists? Like, what do you want?
Well, I think we've been playing Daggerheart in these like tinier groups, shorter bursts and whatnot, and I'm excited for the larger portion of our whole Wither and Bloom family to experience something like Daggerheart, something newer together. We haven't done that in a while. I can't remember. It was the playtest maybe the last time we all played Daggerheart together.
Yeah.
I wasn't even
And
there.
Hattie
Yeah,
was
no,
nasty.
we
wasn't even
weren't
there.
all there.
So it's I think it'll be good bonding and a fun experience for all of us. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay, Liv?
On a personal level, without saying too much, because I want to save it for when we talk about our characters, I think I'm excited to have some worlds and some interests collide a little bit and bleed from like personal. I know bleed is sometimes a bad thing, but I'm very interested to see this bleed with personal interests and character interests. So that's a personal thing that I'm excited for with this one.
That's great.
Yeah.
I hope I live up to that for you.
Me too. I have no doubt you will.
Thanks. Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
So fair.
I mean, for me, it's I tend to engage in role-playing games for that means of escapism, that means of like taking myself out of the world that I normally exist in. And what I find valuable about that is creating a character that kind of gives you the option to be a little bit introspective or approach similar issues or things in a different way than you normally would outside in your real world life. So for me, that's an interesting take on that. This world of Amicora, we've talked about and played around for so long, but I've not experienced it yet. So I'm looking forward to diving into that and trying to see what kind of develops out of that. I think one of the fascinating things for me is like how characters develop together, how we exist in this framework of this world. So I'm super stoked about that. And what else? I thought there was something else that I was going to say, but I'm old and things go away all the time. It sucks.
I will say that as a GM, one of the things that I'm going to ask of my players that I think is something that Daggerheart mentions in the book a number of times, and I've really grown to love about how they structure the game, is this notion of trust. And it's a trust on the part of, if you're going to create a game that is very heavily narratively influenced, where the players have all control over things that happen. We know that you could easily run away with something overpowered, fantastical, or really going outside the bounds of what could happen. But in the interest of building a story that feels real, I know that you're going to stay inside of that. But there's another side to that street in the trust, and that is another core principle for GMs in Daggerheart is to not undermine the players. And so I want you to trust me as your GM that my motive here is I'm going to be playing the game as your adversary, right? But I am not attempting to undermine the forward direction of the story, right? If you die, you die, right? That's part of it. But my goal is not to kill you. So one of the reasons I'm saying this, because I think we all to some degree know this, but one of the reasons I'm saying this is that sometimes when it comes time for you, the players, to make a decision about whether you're going left or right, you labor over that for an extremely long period of time. And I think what you should realize is that both left or right will turn out to be something interesting in the scope of the game. And that your entire existence does not necessarily depend on whether left is correct or right is correct. So in the spirit of moving a story, a fiction forward, have trust in the GM, know that the story is going to go somewhere, and embrace that and roll with that. Okay, I think that's really at the core of Daggerheart.
That's
There's
huge.
no right answer.
Yeah.
That's huge because, like, so often you feel like, oh, am I being presented with a puzzle that if I don't solve it correctly, am I gonna completely go off astray? And I find that I approach interactions with NPCs a lot of the time in that way of like, how do I play this? If I'm not gonna play this just right, shit's gonna go really south for us.
Right.
And so hearing that as a reassuring situation is really awesome. And that was one of the things that went in my brain before earlier was getting to know the Daggerheart mechanic a little bit more and playing in that narrative a little bit more. Because for me, that's true. Like, yeah, I'm a dice goblin and I love like the bits and pieces of it all, but it's about telling these stories and creating these stories in real time with people that you love, and it's awesome. So
Cool.
that's why we're here. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, Garrett, did you have anything you wanted to add? I know you didn't say anything.
No, I mean, to touch on what you made a comment on, the left or right both have an option. I personally experienced that in the marathon. Because our party was going so hard at this one scenario where it was like, no, we shouldn't side with this guy. And I was kind of like, no, I think that's our only option. We need to side with this guy. But we chose not to, and the story went perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. So it's like, not necessarily letting that wall down, because you got to play your character to what it is, but kind of like, there's more than one option.
Trusting the process.
Yeah, kind of.
Because that definitely, that marathon could have gone in like a totally different direction.
Yeah, but like what Todd said is, we're here to create a story too. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not necessarily going to completely make the wrong choice. Like,
Exactly.
No.
each choice has an option.
And even if the worst thing happens, right, and your character dies, that's
You
the
don't
way
die
the
in
story was meant
Daggerheart.
to go. That's just an interesting part of the story. And you, as a player in Daggerheart, have agency over what happens in the death, so that's nice. But, yeah, there's no worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. A quick overview of tonight's session is going to go like this. 1, some of you have decided completely on your characters and have built them all out and filled out your character sheets, and some of you are still in the process of doing so.
Don't look at me. Both of you just turned your heads directly to me.
I only looked at you because Todd looked at you.
All right.
So, that's okay, because I think part of the process of learning this is going to be, and honestly, getting to know the characters a little bit on the part of like our viewers that are watching. I want them to see how you're making this happen. Mm-hmm. So we're going to engage in a little bit of character creation for a little while, first by introducing where we're at right now, and then what we need to kind of fill out. We can offer advice back and forth across the table, have conversations about that. You guys that are out there in the chat, if you have any feedback or input for any of the players that are building a character and what they might consider, absolutely put it in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that and, kind of conveying that to people. So we'll spend some time doing that. And then somewhere around, I'm guessing probably around 8 o'clock, we'll take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to introduce to you the basic framework of this world. Not the formal campaign introduction with all of the grit and descriptive tooth, but
Love
some of that.
descriptive tooth,
the
Doug.
descriptive tooth is
No,
coming.
I
Don't
love the
worry.
tooth.
Don't worry.
I just got a little chill about
The tooth.
The tooth. Remember the tooth.
So yeah, so we're gonna run it like that, and then we'll go from there. I do have a couple of things to introduce at that point as well. I'll give you a teaser on them right now. Number 1, we are going to be introducing a homebrew community. Now, for those of you that have played Daggerheart before, I'm going to be introducing a homebrew community that I made I did the art for. I've been laboring over this for quite some time. Did you just post a video of me doing the time-lapse drawings? Is that
Not
up?
up yet.
It's not up yet?
Yeah.
So look for that on our YouTube channel. Rich made me do time-lapse of the entire drawing process by hand. It's not digitally drawn, it's hand-drawn.
For you guys.
So he's got that whole thing, if you
excited
can
about that.
deal with that. But anyway, we're going to have a Tinkerborn community present in this, and that is going to pop up on the screen in a second. You're going to get to see that card. I'm actually going to be making this card, a physical copy of this card. I'll read it to you. Being a part of a Tinkerborn community means you grew up around inventors, tinkerers, artists, or designers. You have honed your own creative practice and are skilled this way. You have the additional ability of, or feature of, Creator. Once per session, you can utilize resources you possess or acquire to make something mechanically useful to you or the party. Work with your GM to decide how this is done. So, if anybody wants to utilize the Tinkerborn community, you will gain that feature as part of... Oh, we got one. We got two. All right, excellent. I'm really glad to hear that. You guys make me feel good.
That's like perfect for 3.
I know.
When I saw you create
Doritos in on that one.
So we got that. And then the other thing, and I'm not going to show you this yet, but one of the things I love about the Daggerheart core rulebook is that they have created stat blocks for environments, where environments actually have adversarial properties. Not always. Some of the properties in these stat blocks are beneficial or potential, like little hooks that you can play into characters being in a particular type of place. They fall into several categories. I will talk about them later, but I've got a new one that I made specific to Amicora. I think it's going to be fun. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's get into some character introductions, shall we? Cool.
I think we should start on the
I was
other
gonna say we should
yeah,
start over there.
Other end of
Over this side?
Yeah, you should do
We can do
it.
that. We can do that.
Okay,
I like how
twist
we were in the
my
same-
arm.
It's you, Eric.
Hi, I'm going to be playing a character named Flo Cutis. Flo Cutis, otherwise known as Flo, is a Dracona Clank of the Tinkerborn community.
Dracona clanks.
Yeah.
Mixed
is-
ancestry.
Mixed
heritage.
Mixed heritage, yes.
A Draclank.
A Draclank, if you will.
I made the card.
Somebody might have already made that card. I don't know.
No way.
Yeah, Flocutus, an elemental sorcerer, has quite a complicated backstory, and based on their dual heritage, there's a lot of question about the way they navigate the world and why they navigate the world. I had a very, very intense relationship with his father, but not so much with his mother.
What does Flo look like?
Flo is, thank you for that prompt. Yes, very well done. Lovely. Good interviewing skills. Thank you. Flo is very much a Dracona shape, a kind of thin, narrowed snout, mohawkish type of hornet and ear structure. Has a lot of mechanical, almost organic augmentation looking things. Like there's nodes that kind of pop up around the back of the mohawk that kind of are cylindrical in nature, and their skin has a little bit of a metallic look to it. Deep ruts in their chest and arms that almost look like a red laced circuitry that could seem to channel electricity or power through them. There are a number of different mechanical plate type things, but the two main aspects of Flo's mechanical nature is that their jaw and their tail. I don't know why I keep using they pronouns. His jaw and tail. Just used to trying to be safe all the time and not screw up people's pronouns. There.
Who
So
said
anyway,
that?
Flo can can kind of unhinge their jaw and have their two lower incisors kind of work as the two probes on, say, like an amp probe, where they can measure and influence current. And
That's crazy.
if they go one step further in unlocking that jaw, there's a flexible membrane in the center of the bottom of the mandrill that kind of brings those two together, those two fangs kind of together to be kind of like, well, to go with Star Wars references, kind of a scomp link on a droid so that they can interact with different interfaces and communicate or transfer power. Their tail tip has a very similar property, and they have a tendency to be able to insert themselves into circuits through utilizing their mouth and their
Circuit
tail.
sexual.
Oh my god.
Rich.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, and
It's a lot.
yeah, that's a lot. But like, and they can function as kind of as like a capacitor or a resistor or a.
That's incredible.
Thanks.
I love that.
Thanks.
I mean,
so
that's.
it's a way for Flo to get into shit, and
I can't believe you used Scomp Link on a droid.
that was, I got a good kid that backs me up on weird shit when we're driving around for 2
fantastic.
hours.
I played Jedi Fallen Order twice.
Yeah.
Um,
Scomp.
Can I ask a quick question
Sure.
about your character?
Yeah, go right ahead.
This is going to be off the cuff. This is not going to relate to the narrative at all, or maybe it will. But Flocutus, obvious reference
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Locutus.
Yeah, thank you for.
And
Well
Star
played.
Trek: The Next Generation and the
Yes.
Borg. Does that play in somehow, given the fact that they can insert themselves into circuitry?
Yeah, there was definitely a in seeing this world and kind of imagining how things might be interacting. I was thinking a lot and fairly influenced on like a cyborg nature and but more of an organic feel to it, not less. I'm going to augment myself, but more of these augmentations came about naturally through birth. So it wasn't so much like there was an organic life form that had been augmented and changed. It was more of this hybrid was born into the world.
Good. And I want to talk to you more after session and possibly in some kind of, maybe Discord discussion.
Yeah.
Because I think that plays in very heavily into the biology of the world, which has this underlying network to it. And given that the Borg from Star Trek, which you are named after,
Resistance is futile.
well, not only that, but we are Borg. They're part of that network. And I
Right.
think this could really play interestingly into your story.
I love that story.
Let's jump over to Garrett for a little
Wait,
bit.
I had a follow-up
Over to you.
question.
You had a follow-up question? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very short.
Yeah.
With the way you've described your Dracono, what breath did you shoot? Or you don't have to spoil it if you don't want to.
I mean, it's fairly. It's pretty obvious. I'm electrical. Electricity. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, when I saw in the sorcerer background that the elemental background, you could achieve an electrical lightning kind of thing. I was like, I'm an old Griffin electrician. I like things go. Yes,
awesome,
that's for
dude.
me. So
Hell
yeah, that was one of those happy discoveries in exploring the options in the world. So I was happy. Take it away, Garrett.
I am so unhappy that you went first. And that description. And so when Todd started this session, as to some people are not completely done with their character creation, I fall into that category.
What?
So I don't have a name for my character yet, but I will be playing. So in the marathon, I tried out, at the time it was called the Fighter. It's now called the Brawler because they've updated it. I like playing. I had a lot of fun in the beta testing, trying out, everything. So now that they've created what's called the Void, and it's all the new content that's coming out, I will be playing the Assassin. So that's one of the new classes that came out. It's kind of a spin on the Rogue, but, a little more focused on either poison or strictly lots of damage and assassination. So that's what I'm going to be running with. Like I said, he doesn't have a name yet. but he will be Slyborn, seedy underbelly, gang-related potentially, and he is a half simia, half human, half simia. So if you can imagine, I do not have a description like Eric with these electric tongue fangs and tail probes.
Tail probes.
But my inspiration for this character is he has human-like features on his face, but very hairy, because, you know, part simia, ape. He does have a tail. Normally walks around on 2 feet, but if he goes into any kind of charge or stairs or anything like that, he's down on all fours. Knuckle running, monkey action. Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining a fairly through.
So excited.
Well, Eric over here played a simia in the playtest. You had a lot of fun with it.
It's totally
So we're still working on that. I mean, I'm gonna go. I did. So there the 2 subclasses. I chose to go with the Executioner's Guild, kind of honing in and focusing on the assassination type technique, more damage. I think he's going to be mainly rocking daggers, sneaky, shadowy kind of movement type stuff. I mean, that's kind of what I got so far.
Okay, and I'm sure that by the end of tonight's session,
I'm gonna have more. I might come up with a name by the end of the session. I love every time that we've created characters when we do Daggerheart and we sit at the table and we start bouncing stuff around. There's an awesome feature in Daggerheart called Connections, where it's great for session zeros. You build group connections and you bounce questions back and forth, and we're gonna play with that later. So.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
always kind of like, I've got backstory in my mind. I don't want to, completely put that out there right now. Because, I don't know, my backstory might stay secret. I haven't decided yet.
Oh, cool.
You might get a little bit,
Okay.
but he might stay secret.
One thing I want to put out there before we jump over to Rich on this is that through these descriptions, I'm really looking forward to, first of all, in our chat, you might see someone by the name of Ravenflight. Ravenflight is one of our moderators in the chat, and they're also a fantastic artist. Ravenflight is going to be doing the character art for all the characters in this campaign. And one of the cutaways that we're going to have starting in session 1, we're going to be able to cut away to solo screens of you guys that will have a little bit about your stats, your class, your heritage, your community, and your subclass, but it'll also have the images that Ravenflight has made for us. So I'm super, super pumped about having that available. So
Thank you, Ravenflight.
Yeah.
on that one.
So we'll keep pumping that all the time. I just want to quickly say one thing before we jump over to Rich. Again, one last thing. One of our regular viewers, Bun Bun Riri, who's here, was saying in reference to earlier about this idea of trust, I think. Said, don't hold on tightly to what is right or the correct way to play. Be a fan of your character's journey. Discover their strengths and flaws as you play with each other. Excited to watch. I think that's perfect.
Thank you, Bun Bun.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
wise.
Super
Rich,
dupe bun.
All right.
give us what you got so far.
Giving you what I got. Okay. I'm going to be playing Rook. Rook is half Inferni and half Fungrel. And I am coining in Fungrel. Is what I am playing. So mixed heritage. I started with the class, which was the sorcerer. I knew I wanted to do like a spellcasting class because I've only done the more like physical classes. So I started with sorcerer, and I picked primal sorcerer because I love customization, especially when it comes to spellcasting. So I'm able to like change the effects of the spells that I'm casting. So that's fun. And then, with that, I kind of went down like a detective route almost because we're in a seedy city, and I would love to play a detective, and I think it fits with the campaign. So, I went the detective route, and as I did that, I got inspired by The Princess and the Frog, the villain of that movie, the voodoo doctor. And as I looked at the spells, I saw there were a lot of shadowy spells for the sorcerer, especially in the midnight domain, which I have. And then when I pick my spells, I always like to think of, okay, why would I have these spells? Why did I learn them? Where did they come from? So, if you were to see Rook around, or if you know of Rook, people would know that he looks like he hasn't slept in a while. You know, he always looks tired, always has bags under his eyes and whatnot. And he struggled. I'm deciding what to give away and what not to give away. But he hasn't slept in a while. Let's say about a month or a little bit longer. And the way he stays awake is by magical means. And in doing so, with not sleeping, he started seeing things and hearing things that weren't really there. Maybe a shadow here, maybe a voice there. And as he consumed this magical thing that kept him still processing whilst not sleeping, he gained magical abilities that mixed with that paranoia. So, which is why he's able to commune with shadows and cast things via shadows and have friends on the other side a little bit. So he walks around in leather pants. He's barefoot because he's a fungrel and likes to be in touch with, the footies and what's underneath them. And so we're rocking black leather pants. We're rocking a black leather overcoat, usually shirtless underneath, to expose some of the glowing green and white dots that kind of litter his body. As we work up top, there's a little bit more inferny horns that kind of pop out of these dots, and kind of especially on the face. He's got some on the nose, some on the eyebrows, and then he's got this really unique mushroom cap on top of his head. That's also, I also forgot to mention, skin, black as night, and then these glowing green and white dots on his body. So he's got this black cap that kind of comes down on the back with this weird overgrown weird gourd looking ponytail almost that kind of comes around the side, and his eyes are glowing green, and that is Rook. I think that's all I'm going to give away at the moment.
So I'm curious because the hat that exists kind of puts your face into shadow. You said that through somehow not sleeping for a very long time, you've also connected with and communicate in shadow or with shadow. Is that right?
Yes.
And then as part fungrel, you have access to the fungrel network, which weirdly, in terms of Daggerheart's characters, strangely relates to our mycelial network that's present in our Vesper world.
Yeah.
This is really fascinating to me, the way all these things kind of interconnect and can kind of play out in this world.
Yeah. And weirdly enough, knowing the lore about Vesper, I know that we are too far from the center of the continent to access the fungal network. So I didn't choose that as one of the traits from the fungal. I chose Death Connection and then chose Fearless of the Inferni. So he hasn't honed that connection to the fungal network, but he's traded it for that connection to this shadowy, almost in between, half asleep, half awake kind of. If you ever taking too much Benadryl and you see the Hat Man, it's kind of like that.
What?
The Hat Man?
And
Y'all
he's
never seen the Hat Man?
Robo-tripping.
He's friends with the Hat Man, basically.
This is so Call of Cthulhu.
Can we add that to your character drawing? Can Jay add the Hat Man in the back?
Right? So, okay. So I don't want to dig too much into this right now, but I think between your character and Flocutus's character, there's a real opportunity to flesh out the magic system from Vesper in this campaign, which has regions. There's almost a sort of climate map of the continent for where different systems of magic are in play, for lack of a better word. And I heard you say, I'm outside the fungal network. That's not something that's part of Daggerheart's rules. That's something that happens to be part of our homebrew campaign.
Yes.
So let's dig into that a little bit during this campaign. But I love this build.
Thank you.
Did you-
Sorry.
Did you say your community?
Oh, I'm a Slyborn community, so that's actually the last thing I wanted to touch
Oh,
on. Thank
okay.
you. So that being said, like as far as like the group, and if anybody wants to like jump together later to kind of make connections, it's common knowledge that Rook has a history. He's gang affiliated. He there's a history of him being in part of the seedier community, and something happened that I will not be divulging, and now he's known as a detective around town. And that's the last thing I'm going to throw out.
Okay. Lib, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, it is my turn. So I will go. Which is kind of interesting now hearing a couple people's descriptions of theirs. I am playing Vaelith, or you can go by Lith for short. Her pronouns are she, her. And she is an Inferni sorcerer. Yo, whoa. Vaelith, I'm going to start with her description. From like top to bottom, she is all of her skin is this opaque purple, like lilac color. She's got this dark purple to navy contouring throughout her skin. She has 2 horns that kind of protrude right from her hairline and go straight back. They're quite long and pointy. Her ears are also dramatically pointed to the back, as well as some of her teeth. She wears this almost bodysuit type outfit that has like a high neck, it's sleeveless, and she's got gloves that come up to her elbows and boots that come up to her knees that ends in points. That is also a blue, like navy color. And what's very interesting about Vaelith is her eyes. They glow this purple color, and there is no pupil or iris. And she is blind. She can't see.
That's
Vaelith has a familiar with her. His name is Fig, and he is a he's a black raven that stays with her, that's got leather pouches in his little vest, and throughout his feathering there's some flecks of blue, kind of shimmery feathers in there throughout. And he hangs with her and he never leaves. They're always together. I have my notes here if you see me looking over, just to make sure I don't forget anything that I wanted to say. Oh, her hair. So her hair is long, wavy. There's top half is kind of in braids and buns. The rest is down. And inside her hair, she has little cuffs and other trinkets that Fig has found and has gifted her throughout the years that they've been together. And her ears are also very pierced with lots of jewelry and chains in her ears. Community is Slyborn. Like
3.
several of the party members, which has to do with a lot of her background that I still have yet to figure out some of her background. I know a decent amount about her, but I'm excited to figure the rest of her out, hopefully tonight. I think she's also elemental origin for sorcerer, which her element is fire.
I was going to say, one of the things I found fascinating about this was so first of all, Daggerheart core rulebook, page 84, playing characters who are visually impaired, playing deaf characters, there's a lot of accessibility options in the way the mechanics of this game are written.
Which I was so excited about.
Because that's your thing.
That's my thing. And for those who don't know, I am disabled as like myself, as Olivia. So I'm very into the whole accessibility thing in everything. So when we were at PAX, I know Eric and I and Addie a little bit, like we kind of did some of the accessibility stuff there. I know, but like I talked to you about it a little bit. But Eric and I
You were there in spirit.
So inspired. So inspired.
But Eric and I like I went to a couple panels by myself, and I just loved the accessibility aspect in roleplay. So then Todd was like, hey, you need to check out page 84 because there's actually a written disability section in the book. I was like, done. And I'm playing a character with something.
It's going to be really cool to see how you do this.
And we've never had like a character with a disability to like that way. Like we've had characters with like limb differences and things like that, but we've never done something like this, and I've never done something like this, so it's gonna be learning experience.
It's gonna be interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah.
Well, I
for
think
sure.
if anyone's gonna do it justice, it's you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, super cool.
Addie, would you like to go?
Oh God, it's my turn.
It's
Oh,
your
God.
turn.
All right. So I knew from the moment that I found out that we were gonna do another Daggerheart series, I wanted to be tanky. Because I haven't really been a tank on WAB yet. So I am playing SP4K-33, also known as Sparky.
Yes.
Um,
I love that.
I am a 9-foot tall clank.
Holy
Slenderman?
No, a 9-foot tall clank stalwart guardian. Sparky is this very tall, limber, not exactly thin, but like a strong frame, almost like kind of going back to the Star Wars references, kind of like a K2SO kind of frame with these long, thin arms, kind of a sand gray color scheme across their entire body, and instead of a kind of like mechanical face, their head is just this very neat near spherical shape, with some kind of geometric angles here and there. There are these two circles where eyes would be that kind of glow this off-white, and instead of any form of mouth or anything like that, there is this like almost like G1 Optimus Prime-esque faceplate that when they talk ever so slightly moves, and also there's a little bit of that same off-white glow behind it whenever they talk. Sparky also is it is very clear that as a part of a Tinkerborn community, Sparky is very prone to mechanical knowledge and self-modification, which is made known by some of the parts of Sparky's outer shell. Some added bulk here and there. They have this kind of like almost bandolier thing going down their abdomen and chest. They also have mismatched shoulder plates. The one on their left shoulder is this like scratched up hot rod red color that seems to have seen better days, and the right shoulder is this kind of like a weathered bronze green that also seems to have seen better days. Sparky doesn't look too terribly kit bashed, but it is definitely evident that they have spent considerable time picking themselves up and putting themselves back together. Sparky has the demeanor and attitude of a blunt, honest child. They aren't really all that noticeable or all that knowledgeable when it comes to social practices. They say whatever comes to their mind, although they will be very insistent to the fact that as a inorganic being and as a clank, they're not alive. And yet, contradictorily, if that's even a word, they have this growing and blossoming desire to understand. They revel in learning new things. They revel in learning about life forms, and as such have this very strong instinct, or as they would say, programming, to protect and be altruistic. They have spent a good chunk of their remembered existence alongside Flo. So chances are, the more you learn about Flo, the more you learn about Sparky, and vice versa. Essentially, Sparky is just a tall, simple little guy.
I'm realizing right now that my laptop is telling me it's gonna die, and the charger's not with it. And I've got scores of people running around upstairs looking for.
I have your charger.
You have my charger.
Yeah.
That's why no one can find it.
Rich.
I'm so sorry.
Rich.
I'll plug it in for you.
Thank you so much. No, I got it.
Yeah, you plug it in all
You're
right.
good.
You should have.
What
you
you
could have
could
said
do-
something to me. I have one in my bag.
So do I.
Well,
I
You have
know.
a plethora of people
You know-
with chargers in the room.
this is the thing. Listen, let me tell you something. If you ever decide to take your game into some kind of content streaming, you will never, ever, ever 100% feel relaxed. That's just the way it's gonna go. Let's do this. I think that first of all, these are great builds, but I want to turn it over to you guys now. Like, I want to start to have conversations about, number one, what do you need? I want to get into connections a little bit later, but like, for example,
that's fine.
Olivia, I know you still need to do some things. Garrett, you're very good at helping sort of flesh some of these things out. Rich, I know that you're almost entirely done. So maybe we can get going with something where we just sort of talk about what we still yet need in these characters to flesh them out. Chat, number one, thanks for jumping in on all this stuff. There's some really good comments coming in, by the way. Like, first of all, Ravenflight says, new merch design with the Hat Man, which is freaking perfect.
Please.
Yeah.
Let's see. Witcher OL says the Witch's class feature could also pass for a detective, though not so much in domain abilities. Kind of an interesting thought.
That's fair. I'm kind of dying to play the witch,
Me
but
too.
I feel like I've already committed to the sorcerer and all the shadow stuff, so I'm gonna stay with it.
Well, and the other thing is that, you know, like, everybody's commenting on the amazing character builds so far, the backstories, and fitting those into this short 3-session campaign, which as a GM, I'm kind of like, God, I hope I can give these
I love
their
that.
due.
I love that comment there. And then, Curtis made a comment about roll 2d12 and add that in many sessions. kind of agree on that one. I like that one.
You know, that's not out of the books necessarily, and it's not out of the books to
But-
say that these characters couldn't carry on.
What I wanted to say is I cannot wait after hearing these descriptions. Like, your description, insane. Olivia's description of the purple glowing eyes and everything, and then the robot over here, the 9-foot tall massive robot.
Yeah.
I want to see these character arts so bad.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh my
can't
god.
wait.
Jay,
No,
I can't
like
wait.
when I tell you, Jay sent like the first initial sketch of Valeth in our like little chat, and I had like generated and done some imaging to
Idea
try to
in your
just
head?
to
Yeah.
see if I liked what she was looking like. And when I tell you, like, Jay sent the first sketch, and it was literally to a T what I had generated. I was like, holy crap!
can't
Like,
wait.
yeah,
I can't
that's what I'm
wait.
looking for.
Yeah, Jay
I'm
kills
so
it.
So that's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really
It's over to this side of the table. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
We're doing connections later.
We're going to do connections later, but what else do we still need to build out on these characters?
So the like main things, I think a lot of it's gonna come. You know, I still have to do my experience.
I need to do experiences.
But I did right before we started. I finished like my armor and my weapons. Like, that's done. But my experience is empty. And then, you know, like the connections and
Do you
things
want to try
like
and come
that.
up with the experiences? Because that's fun.
Experiences is something I think that can be challenging. It's good to talk
Yeah.
about that. It's
There
fun.
are a lot of nice examples in the book.
Yeah.
I got an idea and then built from that. There's a lot. So if you do want to find that,
Straight off the dome, your hearing's probably sick.
Yeah, I feel like all my senses are pretty heightened because I don't have one of them.
That's an experience.
So Daredevil core.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I really, and you might not want to like unveil this yet, but
Yeah.
you said you have a familiar,
I do.
Yeah.
like Raven.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you see through the familiar.
Beastmaster.
Like a warg in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, kind of like that. That's what I was getting. at.
Beastmaster.
I would like to volunteer my services. I do an eerily accurate Raven call.
It's horrifying. Can we hear it?
My gosh.
Is it going to be really loud?
It's not going to be loud.
Oh my gosh.
So
Well, it's good you guys are sitting next to one
So
another.
it's not like a soundboard,
Yeah,
my own
this
personal
is why- I think
soundboard
that's
over
gonna
here.
work.
why we're on the same side of
elbow
the
them in
table.
the
Be like,
ribs.
give me the
Give me the call.
So you were saying
What? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, I mean, no, that could be. You can. Even if you put blind as an experience, if you can justify it in play, like you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I think I'd hear better in this moment to perceive. I want to use hope to add blind to this.
Yeah.
You know, you can be creative and call it
I
Daredevil
think-
core if you want, but
I think before, really quickly, what really held me up when we played the beta when I did my experience is I was really trying to think like extremely outside the box when it came to my experience. So I want to try to rein that back in a little bit.
And I've noticed that. So in, not a plug or anything like that, but I've been following, huge Critical Role nerd over here. I've been following Age of Umbra and just watching them play. And, in our long marathon, which is the last thing that Rich and I played, I felt that we didn't use our experiences enough.
I agree with that.
Watching like the Critical Role cast play,
Yeah.
they're using their experiences all the time. You can use your experience, if it's justifiable, to help you hit. Like when you're rolling to hit, it's not just like a D&D thing where it's, like stealth or, like lock picking or something like that, where it's like outside of combat. You can use these things in combat too. So like take that into, because that's what I've noticed in Age of Umbra. So they're using their experiences even when they're like trying to hit and attack and stuff like that.
yeah.
And it's just like I feel like we didn't do that enough justice in
There
our.
are things we could have done, like even if we were doing like a tag team attack.
Yeah.
we can add our
we can
experience
add
to that.
So like,
There's ways you
just
can bump
keep
up your
that in
rolls.
mind.
Well, think about it less.
planning.
Think about it less mechanically, and think about it more narratively. If you were going to describe the attack you were about to do,
Yeah.
it would have some kind of description to how you were carrying that out. And if that description was aided by an experience you had, then you should be able to use that. Whereas in the crunchier world of heavy combat mechanics, that's not even an option, really.
Yeah.
I like that, like when we would play D&D, we would have to like tell each other and whatnot that, you know, maybe we should describe how we use these abilities instead of just saying we use them. But Daggerheart like works it into the rule set to describe how you would do it to get the bonus.
Yeah.
You know? So
Olivia, wait 1 second. Olivia, are you looking at the chat?
I was.
Did you see what
why?
Bun Bun Riri said?
No.
Bun Bun Riri said, "My blindness is no handicap."
Oh my god.
I love it.
Hey, that's great.
that's sick.
I love
Writing
it.
down.
That is
So-
really cool.
What were
So
you-
I have a question for all of you then. I felt like when I did the beta, I had very specific experiences that were very detailed and kind of like honed in. And throughout this build, I kind of went at it as a much more open-ended avenue. So like I could speak to the detail of each of these, but instead of like writing out each experience in like a very detailed sentence, I was thinking more of it as like a phrase that sums up a lot of these other things, so that there's a lot of interchangeability in it. Like, you know, I think about like when I'm in therapy, all these different aspects can kind of commingle with each other and take on different aspects, and they build upon each other. So that was kind of how I approached these experiences for this character, was to try to keep it open-ended and a little bit more fluid, so that there was more applicable natures to the experiences. Does that seem like
No, that makes sense.
too
makes total
fluid,
sense.
or is that like
No, I think that absolutely makes sense. I mean, you know that you could get so descriptive with your experience, so specific that it winds up harming you because you can't use it. Yeah.
Right.
I kind of went through it and did something similar. I thought of them as almost like if I'm putting in a job application, what would I put down as like experience? Like one of mine is detective.
Right.
So anything that would fall under the category of detective work, I could argue I would be good at.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how I've categorized it a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cool.
Well,
You got any other ones?
What are some of the other experiences at the table right now that have been written? Are there any right now that we have?
I
Yeah.
don't have any. I'm about to look at the book
got
for
3.
a little experience.
So Eric has 3.
I have 3. I kind of also I went a similar route because I haven't fleshed out my backstory as much as I would like. I have like a basic framework, but kind of like because we did a lot of the character creation together, where it was like, all right, so like I was like, this is what I've got, and then we figured out all the stuff with flow, and then kind of put it together as best we could. So I was thinking about that, and then trying to come up with experiences for after we met and how that influenced backstory up until the game start. So I came up with for my, because as a clank, the purposeful design perk gives you a +1 bonus to any experience that you can justify by being a clank. So I did that for an experience I made called Self-Tinkered, which references the period of time, we'll say after they were brought online again, that Sparky spent making sure that all of their systems were go, fixing themselves, bringing themselves up to whatever standard of working order that they would feel comfortable in, and also adding like those extra armor plates and those like extra little tidbits. So I guess that could have a variety of uses depending on how much I'm using that kind of feature.
And it's also your ability to take these experiences and imagine them in different situations, right? Like Self-Tinkered can really come into play with knowledge about the way something else is built, right? Because you built, you have this hands-on knowledge. So you might be making a roll, a knowledge roll, say, to sort of understand the way something else is built. And in a high example of that, in a good success, you might see something that's familiar to you because you yourself are built that way. So lots of ways this could sort of play in.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
One of the really cool things thinking about that as you were talking was that we have a shared experience,
Yeah.
hideaway. So what I'm really interested in seeing is how both of us come to that same experience of a shared experience, but from different perspectives. Of one of somebody who's come back online and has self-tinkered, and another one who's trying to discover what they are and how they exist within things, but still shared these moments of like having to survive.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
Yeah, I am too. And honestly, the shared experience doesn't have to necessarily be so directly connected as it is in a backstory, for example. You as players, Olivia, you might not know this in some of the newer rule sets, but you can spend a hope to give someone help on an action, which would add advantage to their roll. And you have to have the hope to spend, but this is a way that even if you don't necessarily have a direct connection in a backstory, you can lend a hand.
I learned something interesting about experiences only from playing through the amount of levels we did in the marathon. But as you level up and you get to these new tiers, there's the first tier, second tier, and third tier. As you transfer to the next tier, I believe you gain an experience. And I chose to gain experiences that match what I was doing in the game. So we had gone through this this dungeon, and I communed with my god for an answer, and it worked out. I think I rolled like a nat 20, and it worked really well. So as we leveled up next, I made one of my experiences about communing with gods. So you can find them out in the world as you play.
To be clear, you didn't roll a nat 20, but you did roll a critical success.
I rolled snake eyes.
Doubles.
Sorry,
Yeah,
it's so
Dubs, dude.
it's so in our brains. you
We're
know.
shaking that off. We are shaking that off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like
It's like the little worm.
I'm gonna be like Dumbledore. You know, he pulls like the memory out and throws it away.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did also just want to call out mechanically because we're talking about like stuff that we needed for the game, because I remember Garrett remarked earlier about, since we're technically playing at tier 2 of play as level 2 characters, that you said we were able to take like a tier 2 item.
Correct.
I changed my armor from chainmail to improved chainmail, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Garrett and I had a discussion about this before the game started. So for those of you that don't know, we are going to start at level 2, which is technically tier 2. Now, you know, one of the things about the tiers that you have to be aware of as a group, or even just as a GM, is, you know, imagine you're playing a much longer campaign and you're leveling your party more slowly. And you are, you know, generous with the things you offer as a GM, which I've been told I'm not all the time. Sometimes I'm too much, and sometimes I'm not at all. I'm working on that. It's a lifelong process. Anyway,
Trust the process.
if you say level, or I should say tier 2 is levels 2, 3, and 4. So if you take 1 through 4 levels, the distance between tier 1 and the beginnings of, or the end of tier 2, for some of us, that could be 9 months of campaign time if we're playing every week. So you'd find a lot of items as a tier 2 character, in theory. So if you start at level 2 and you say to your characters, oh, well, play as if you're tier 2, that might invite them to have too many things. So what I did to try and balance that was I said, okay, look, you can either have a tier 2 armor or a tier 2 weapon. Something that just sort of says, hey, I found this thing along the way and we're good to go. But that prevents you from being too over the top. I hope that works.
Yeah.
If you have thoughts in the chat, definitely tell me.
I think it balances it out, if anything.
I hope. I never know until it's too late and I find myself having to take things from you. Rich, you got an experience you could share?
Yeah. So with my character's experience, living in a constant state of a night terror, pretty much, I wrote down the experience of friends on the other side. Anything that would involve shadows, asking for assistance from otherworldly, creepy beings, falls in that category. And then the other one, I already said detective. He has experience being a detective, so that's pretty basic. You know, investigating all that kind of stuff, detective work. You know, the last one is survival of the fittest. Basically, skills he would have picked up to survive in a Slyborn community. You know what I mean? Anything, lying, stealing, working with criminals, hiding, all that kind of stuff, I think falls into the category. And it makes sense. I almost think that experiences can also like follow stages of life for your character. Because you learn different things from different stages of life, I think.
So I would say that, Olivia, with your character, Valith, I would say that maybe something to do with, you know, having the challenges of sightlessness, or perhaps your experiences with your familiar.
Or the benefits of sightlessness.
Correct. Correct. The benefits of sightlessness. Yeah, that's actually a much better way to frame an experience that's going to work to sort of propel the narrative. So yeah, that's actually a great distinction. Have you thought of any yet, or are you still working on it?
I think so. Definitely one, you know, that has to do and pertain with like the blindness benefits and things like that. But I also have thought of potentially one, like now you see it, that a little ironic with that, but it has nothing to do with sight. It instead has to do with being of the Slyborn community and my backstory with con artists and things like that, thievery. But it kind of is also connected to being blind because of the way that I have gone about doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Throughout my life,
Right.
because a lot of people can underestimate those that are visually impaired or hearing impaired. So Valeth has used that to a benefit.
And also the possibility that one of your other perceptual senses has heightened
Yes.
as a result of the other. So that could be an interesting way to play that.
Yeah.
Cool. That's so cool. What do you got?
So I kind of like went like Rich did, where what was your one that was very generic?
Detective.
Detective.
Yeah.
So I just went assassin because
That makes total sense.
I mean,
Makes total sense.
yeah, it can fit into a lot of different things. You know, you could use it for a bunch of different skills. You know, sneaking around or just anything.
Planning out some type of route.
Yeah, planning or it can fit into so many different things. So I use that because my build is focusing around daggers mainly. With the I went with the whole assassin aesthetic, daggers. I also picked just quick hands, just so I have something to add on to that. That's what I got so far.
Okay.
So working.
Eric, you said you had a couple of experiences. You got one you want to share?
Yeah, I've got. I mentioned a little bit about Hideaway, which is a shared experience that Sparky and Flocutus have kind of been in some places that we needed to evade some other things, and so we've become adept at putting ourselves into the shadows to wait things out, as it were. But I also have Opposites Attract, which is kind of more of a hearkening to my origin and backstory between my parents, and how something that is completely organic with a heavy understanding of mechanics can be drawn to something that is very much mechanical, and how those two things kind of combine to create something that's different.
So that's the killer right there. Opposites attract, how it relates to your parents, and how you can funnel that into so many different things from a translational standpoint. Right. And how you can say, well, the way my parents either loved each other or didn't, or whatever the case may be, can all of a sudden become anger. It can become passion. It can become invigoration. That's so cool. So that one I think is going to work really well.
Awesome.
That's exciting.
Nice.
What a way to share some little bit of backstory.
Yeah.
I see
Well, that's
you.
cool
I see
to
you.
tie the backstory that way.
Yeah.
Could I bounce off that?
That's what we do tonight.
It's what we
Been
do.
bouncing.
We're bouncing around.
Bouncy boys.
And I don't know if the name of my final experience is too revealing for the backstory, but it was one that I've wanted to run by you since I came up with it. The experience is called Enforcer's Bane, because in part of our early discussion about Sparky was talking about clanks in Amicora and how limited the concept of clank sentience is and how it's regulated. So that kind of guided some of my thinking about some of the potential conflicts and experiences that Sparky and Flo, or namely Sparky, has had. And because I didn't want it to just be like a be-all, end-all kind of thing of if we're interacting with stuff as the name of the experience suggests. Todd's writing and it's scaring me.
Well, I'm writing because no, you're making great points,
Yeah.
and I want to make sure to touch on what you're saying. But keep going, please.
Essentially, I was like, I want to have an experience that I can use or draw upon to kind of not necessarily explain, but kind of augment how Sparky relates to and exists within and without the bounds of sentience and the limits forced on them because of it.
Yes, and I'm super excited that this has made it into your character.
Yay!
And I'm going to kind of I want to talk a lot about the world itself, and what you're going to be in when we come back from our break.
Rad.
So in order to sort of cue that up, because we normally go to break around 8 o'clock, and I do want to introduce one thing before we go. And then when we come back from break, when it comes to things like, when it comes to clank sentience, right, for example, which is definitely part of this story, your Enforcer's Bane experience will play a role in this. It is going to have something to do with it. But I have to kind of build out some of the framework of this story so you understand how it's going to work. Okay? And then our viewers will understand how it's going to work. But what I think I'm going to do first is, because this is going to become part of, we're going to go to break soon. And I want you to think about on the break what I'm going to introduce now and how that's going to potentially play out. Hopefully it'll just be something exciting for you, but maybe it'll tweak your characters just a little bit. So for Amicora, the city of Amicora, I have made an environment stat block. It's a tier 2 environment stat block. So Daggerheart core rules actually treat environments as adversaries. They have stat blocks built around them for how they interact with you, how you interact with them. It's not always adversarial, but it can be. And so this is also where the Star Wars reference sort of comes in a little bit. So if the Star Wars reference, listen, chat, some people that I talk to, especially my students when I'm teaching, they don't even know what Star Wars is. The number of people that have seen Star Wars is plummeting as we move forward in time. However,
That should be taught in school.
no kidding.
Yeah.
I know some of you out there are on the same level as me. So, and I don't mean level in terms of intellect, I mean level in terms of decrepitude and age. So,
Being a nerd.
Okay.
so some of you are going to
not
immediately get
Nickelodeon.
this. Immediately get this. And if it's too close to Star Wars, tell me. I will change the name. But all of these stat blocks for different types of environments have different names. So, for example, in the core rulebook, there's Raging River, Outpost Town, Local Tavern. These are types of environments that are common and generic and you could find yourself in. And then the different things that take place in that stat block can play out. So the one that I've chosen for this environment is called Scum and Villainy.
I love it. I love it.
So let me show you that up on the screen for those of you that are home. So Scum and Villainy is a tier 2 exploration stat block. Different environments have different types of descriptive terms. So there's exploration, there's traversal, there's social, and there's event. Okay? So in this one, I'm just going to read a little bit for you. A larger city that tends towards personal gain and has less oversight. Guards or enforcement systems are often easily bribable, and factions of all sorts abound. Now, the impulses of this type of environment tend to be feed on and profit from fear. Suspicion of outsiders invites danger. Okay? There is a special mechanic that I'm going to incorporate into this stat block, into this environment. And this is the one that's open for discussion. If you feel like this is problematic for you, say the word. I'll pull it out. But I'm introducing a homebrew mechanic into our game called Welcome Status. Your welcome status is a measurable number. Now for GMs, I can either keep the welcome status to myself and you have no idea what your number is, or I can tell you your welcome status and you can keep track of it for yourself. I'm going to get into the mechanics of that in a minute. Let me talk a little bit about the environment stat block really quickly. Number 1, it is a difficulty rating of 14. That means any kind of roll that you're going to make will usually have a 14 as the difficulty class for accomplishing what you need to in relation to that environment. Potential adversaries in this place, I'm not going to read to you because you can watch the video tomorrow, but I'm not going to give it all away tonight. Let me talk about a few of the features that exist in this place. Some of these are active, like actions, some are reactions, and some are passive and present all the time. So first of all, you're not welcome here is one of the passive features.
I don't like you either.
Yeah. These types of environments tend to prey upon outsiders, and if a PC is aware of the danger, it can be stressful and lead to shifts in the narrative. Upon entering this environment, have all players make a presence roll and consider the following conditions. On a critical success, you will clear 1 extra stress, because as you know, a critical success roll causes you to clear a stress anyway. You will clear an additional stress. You will gain 2 welcome status points, right? Because you start at a baseline of 0 and you work your way up or down from that, depending on things. This PC tends to feel respected and could even be asked to become a member of a faction. They have advantage on rolls that check against the environment or NPCs in the environment. So you gain that if a critical success is rolled on this passive feature, okay? If you get a success with hope, you gain 1 welcome status point. A success with fear, nothing really happens, because in this environment, success but with fear is kind of the status quo. That's how this environment rolls. Any failure, however, you're going to mark a stress and you're going to lose 2 welcome status points. This PC is eyed with suspicion, and there's a clear and present danger to them. Have the PC describe what it is about their environment or NPCs, have the PC describe what it is about their character that creates this sensation. They have disadvantage on rolls that check against the environment or the NPC's environment. Once per long rest, the PC can attempt to write this. Have them describe something they do to gain the respect of someone in the environment, and then roll a presence check and use the new condition. This goes on and on. There are other features in this environment called "you can always get what you want," to not quite quote the Rolling Stones. And then another lyrical feature of this called "Gimme the loot." Gimme the loot. Gimme the loot. Thank you for putting that in there. That was perfect. Gimme the loot is another feature of this. There's another feature called "He's taking the dirt nap." And a fourth one called "It is what it is." So these types of features are in play as long as you're in this environment, and they will bump or decline your welcome status. I'm going to tease you with that a little bit. I will introduce the whole thing when we actually play the game. So
That's awesome.
thank you.
I'm so excited.
I'm kind of excited for this. For those of you that are intending at some point to download the module PDF, this is going to be included in that as part of it. So I'm hoping you guys like that. And that's going to bring us just about up to our break. So we're going to run for our break's going to be about 15 minutes. You guys out there are going to see one of Rich's latest videos on some of the Daggerheart features in the Void, the different classes that are available. He's kind of going over those pretty quickly. I know a lot of you are familiar with that, but he made a pretty awesome video. So we're going to roll that, and when that's over, we'll be back to talk about Amicora. We'll see you in a little bit.
I don't know about you, but it feels like yesterday Daggerheart came out. We've played it, you've played it, we love it, we hope you love it. The game is getting so much positive feedback. But apparently that's not enough for Darrington Press, because they released even more content. I woke up today like, holy crap, what is this, Christmas morning? So many more classes, subclasses, ancestries, and communities to play with. So I had to pop out here and make this video for you guys. We're gonna go through all the fun stuff that came out on the Void today, one by one, talk about our thoughts, and talk about how you can bring them into your game. Let's go. The first thing we gotta talk about is the new Witch class. The Witch class are magical practitioners who commune with the forces of nature and entities from realms beyond. Witches call forth their power through craft, rituals, incantations, herbs, stones, candles, and other tools to enact their will and conjure powerful spells. Their features are Witch's Charm. When you or an ally within far range rolls a failure, you could spend 3 hope to change into a success with fear instead. Their next feature is Hex. When a creature causes you or an ally within close range to mark any number of hit points, you can mark a stress to hex them. While hexed, they gain a penalty to their damage thresholds equal to your spellcast trait, and a penalty to their difficulty equal to your tier. You can only have 1 target hexed at a time. And their last feature is Commune. During a long rest, you can commune with any entity, an ancestor, a deity, a spirit, aspect of nature, etc. Ask them a question, then roll 4d6. If any of the dice
have matching values, reference the chart below for the effect. If there are multiple matches, you get more than one effect. On a 6, you witness a relevant scene play out. 5, you see a vision relevant to the answer. 4, you hear sounds relevant to the answer. 3, you feel sensations relevant to the answer. 2, you smell an odor relevant to the answer. And 1, you taste a flavor relevant to the answer. I mean, that's badass in its own, right? Who hasn't been dying to play a witch? Well, it's not just a witch, because there are 2 subclasses, the Hedge Witch and the Moon Witch. Okay, so starting with the Hedge Witch. The Hedge Witch is cool. They are in touch with nature. So all of their abilities have to do with nature. One of their abilities is they can see the last few moments of dead bodies near them. Or they can draw a circle on the ground and give them and their allies bonuses inside that circle. Pretty good bonuses in my opinion, +4s around the board. And their first ability actually lets them protect an ally when an ally would be damaged. So they use nature to protect themselves and give themselves and their allies bonuses. And the Moon Witch is a little bit more selfish. The Moon Witch uses the moon to gain power to boost themselves. They can change any part about their appearance through the moon's energy. They can give themselves certain bonuses depending on what lunar cycle it is. Okay, last but not least, they get some plus bonuses when in combat. So if they were to get hit in moonlight, they can force the enemy to mark a stress. And they get a +1 bonus to their spell casting modifier. So basically, you and the moon, best buds. Okay, the witch sounds pretty cool, right? Those subclasses sound pretty cool, but they probably got to use some other domains we've seen before, right? Nope! They get their own domain, and it's called Dread. Think of anything creepy that it would be in this domain. The whole domain focuses on all the stuff you'd want to play during Halloween is right in this domain. I can't wait to get started playing a witch. But it's not just the witch, right? We also have another class. Oh, what's that? That's right, it's called the assassin. Oh. Okay, next we have the assassins. The assassins are masters in the art of slipping past their opponent's defenses to inflict terrible pain and deadly strikes. When an assassin marks someone for death, they pursue their prey with unwavering intent. The features of the assassin are Grim Resolve, spend 3 hope to clear 2 stress. The next one is Ambush. When you move into melee and make a successful weapon attack, you can mark a stress to force the target to make a reaction roll with a difficulty equal to 10 plus your level. On a failure, increase the damage of your attack by a number of d6 equal to your tier. And last but not least, get in and out. Spend a hope to ask the GM for either a quick or inconspicuous way into or out of a building or structure you can see. The next roll you make that capitalizes on this information has advantage. The assassin sounds so much fun. It differs from the rogue because it wants you to run into combat, stab, 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 right? And then dip back out. And there's nice ways to kind of trade hope for more stress and whatnot. And I also love how it not only focuses on the fact that an assassin would be good at killing, but they also would be good at infiltrating places without being seen and kind of making a blueprint to follow for the rest of your group. You are a tactician, not just a really good murderer. And the subclasses are really fun. There's the Executioner's Guild and the Poisoner's Guild. The Executioner's Guild is exactly what you think. You kill, and you kill really well. You do more damage up front when you first attack an opponent, and after you deal damage, you get a plus to your evasion to make you even better at slipping in and out. And then at your final form, as an Executioner Assassin, you could just choose to hit instead of miss, basically. Really fun. You can only do it once per long rest, so it's not too OP, but you're really good at killing. The second one is the Poisoner's Guild. And at each 3rd tier of this guild, you gain different poisons that you can concoct and add to your weapon attacks. So at the first level, you can add damage to your attack, you can have a permanent minus to the thresholds of an enemy, and they only get deadlier and more creative from there. I love the Poisoner's Guild. I thought I would love the Executioner more, but the Poisoner's Guild is so fun. The Assassin also uses the Midnight and the Blade domains. They sadly don't get their own, but it's okay, because we still have Dread with the Witch. These two subclasses are awesome. And this would be enough of an update, but Daring to Press went further. Let's get into the ancestries. All right, we have 6 new ancestries to go over, starting with the Earthkin. The Earthkin are descended from the Earth Elementals. They are humanoids whose bodies are a combination of flesh and earth. You gain bonuses to your damage thresholds because of your tough skin, and you can disrupt the earth beneath you as you attack, causing your enemies to be restrained and damaged. Next, we have the Tidekin. Tidekin are descended from water elementals. They are humanoids whose bodies are a combination of flesh and water. Once per session, you can use nearby water to heal an ally, and you can also pull water from a nearby source to damage opponents nearby. Emberkin. Emberkin are descended from fire elementals. I'm sensing a pattern here. They are humanoids whose bodies are a combination of flesh and fire. You can literally flame on and light yourself ablaze, causing any enemies in melee range of you to mark a stress. And you can shoot fire projectiles causing damage at enemies. Who doesn't want to do that? Last of the Genasi, I mean ancestries, is the Skykin. Skykin are descended from air elementals. They are humanoids whose bodies are a combination of flesh and air. Once per rest, you can call upon the wind to make a really long jump, taking you anywhere in very far range. Very nice get out of jail free card. And you can also conjure the wind to make a wind attack at an enemy. After that, we have the Aetheris. Aetheris are humanoids who possess glowing auras and wings they can conjure at will. They are the descendants of Celestials from the Hallows above. Their one ability is Hallowed Soul. When you gain a hope, you can spend that hope to clear a stress. And you can also sprout wings and fly, obviously. Last but not least is the Gnome. Gnomes are small humanoids, most easily recognized by their dense musculature, long arms, and large facial features. They have nimble fingers that when you make a finesse roll, you can spend 2 hope to reroll your hope die, and magical sense. You can sense the presence of magical creatures, and you have advantage on rolls to track or locate creatures with magical abilities. Okay, so I will come out and say that these are based off of D&D races. I mean, we have the 4 different Genasis, love them. Who doesn't want to play as an airbender or a firebender? Combined with the elementalist druid, you can really be an avatar. It plays much better than any form D&D ever tried to play the avatar. This is the definitive way to play the avatar. The gnome and the celestial descendants are also based off of D&D races. I love seeing them change it up when they bring it to Daggerheart though. These abilities are nothing like the ones you have in D&D, so I'll give that to them, but I did appreciate the originality that came with the new classes and subclasses. But overall, more ancestries is good, and you can still mix and match them, picking your favorite one of the 2 features an ancestry gives and mixing it with another to make your own mixed ancestry. But that's not all, because we got some communities to go through and then we're done. Okay, now we got communities, last but not least. And I gotta say, I love Daggerheart. I love all these different puzzle pieces you put together and how much customization there is to make the character you want. So let's start with the first one, Hearthborn. Hearthborn come from humble origins, having lived in a small village or the countryside. They gain the close-knit ability. When you help an ally, you can instead spend 2 hope to make the advantage die a D10 instead of a D6. Then we have Reborn. You were once a member of another community, but you can no longer remember it. Found family. Once per session, you could spend a hope to use an ally's community ability. When you do, your ally gains a hope. At any point when you've discovered the community you were once a part of, you can join that new community, trading in this card for that one. Oh my God, we'll talk about this later. I love this one so much. Warborn. Being part of a Warborn community means you come from a place that is or was ravaged by war. You have the Brave Face ability. Once per rest, you can mark 2 stress instead of an armor slot to reduce incoming damage by 1 threshold. I wish that was more than once per rest, but that's okay. The next one is Duneborn. Being part of the Duneborn community means you are the Lisa Nagaib. Means you've made a home among the shifting sands and arid climate of the desert. You have the Oasis feature. Through the heat of the day and the cold of the night, you know how to take care of your people. Once per rest, during a moment of calm, you can clear a stress on all allies within very close range, or clear a hit point on all allies within very close range. The next one is Freeborn. Being part of a Freeborn community means you're from a collective that lived under tyrannical rule and is now liberated. You have the Unbound feature. Once per session, when you make an action roll with fear, you can instead change it to a roll with hope. Incredibly powerful. Changing fear to hope is always powerful. And last but not least, Frostborn. Being part of a Frostborn community means you come from a place of snow and ice. You have the Long Winter feature. You know how to make resources last. Once per long rest, when you choose to repair all armor, you can also repair an ally's armor up to half their base armor score. Now, these are all really exciting communities. I wish they were all a little bit more balanced, and these are in beta. That's what the Void is. They put these different things out so the community can try them and give feedback. So I definitely will be giving feedback after I play them. But it seems like some are way more powerful than others, like having the ability to choose a friend's community feature in the party. Anybody in the party, you can use their community feature as your own. I mean, that's phenomenal. The amount of range you have compared to everyone else in your party is kind of crazy, but we'll have to see how it works out. I love this update. I love the Void. I love Daggerheart. I can't wait to play these and see how they go. Let me know what you think of these, if you use these in your game, or if you're gonna be giving feedback, or if you're excited, or if you're loving Daggerheart. This is Wither and Bloom Studios. I'm Rich, a core creator here. We put out videos multiple times a week, and please check out our Daggerheart live stream on July 1st next week. Bye guys, thanks for tuning in.
And we're back. Thanks for hanging out and waiting for us. A lot has gone on this break. And I got to tell you, we're excited. Like, I'm really excited for this campaign, but there's been some really good discussion. And so I think the first thing we should just address is, in terms of the stat block for the environment and how we intend to play that, do we agree that the welcome status mechanic is something we want to play with? Is everybody okay with that?
Definitely.
I like it a lot.
Super cool.
I love like reputation features, like in games and stuff, like in Red Dead with the honor meter, where it's like when you do more good, you get more honor points. It influences the game's ending, or if you go a low honor route, then it influences how your character acts, how the game ends. And like, it's such a cool way of measuring like the more intuitive aspects of play.
Right.
And I'm really looking forward to that.
And I appreciate that. I mean, one of the things that I think that is interesting about this is, you know, inside of this, there's an active way that you can play this, and there's a passive way you can play this. The active way is that wherever you fall on your welcome status points can actually be a bonus to a roll that you have to make when dealing with something in the environment. So if you are +2, then you would have +2 to that roll, right? Of course, including any other experiences or other, boons that you have. Same with the other way. The passive way that we could play this is that there is no bonus to dice rolls at all. There is simply a sort of shift in narrative and behaviors of the people around you. That's entirely up to you as well. I'll put it in your hands. Do you want to play the active version? We could play passive. We could play both.
I think because what you were saying kind of before we took the break was that there was a certain measure of succeeding or failing rolls that would influence our welcome status. So I think it would be really cool to kind of have it affect that as well.
Yeah.
It's like a symbiosis almost.
Okay. Anyone else?
Sorry, I almost just had a sneeze and then it like edged me. So
Bro.
I kind of throw it off.
Oh my god. Okay.
Did he just lose welcome points?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, your welcome status
Better
just
than getting
went down a
whizzed.
little bit.
Yeah, right?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that, first of all, I should run the welcome status points blindly back here where you can't see them and you don't know where you stand?
Man.
Or would you rather keep track of them as players so that you can work to fix them?
I think you should keep them behind the GM screen.
I think I hear Olivia's
I
disagreeing.
don't know.
There's no
I
way we
kind-
would know how other people are reacting to us.
No, I know, and like I hear that, but also I think it could be an interesting mechanic to be able to know that and see what you can do to improve upon it.
Yeah.
Like you can read a room,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can feel.
What if you
everybody in here thinks I'm a chode? You know.
What
I think you're a child.
Is there-
if you
a-
gave us like a
Thanks.
sliding scale? What if you didn't say this is where you're sitting, but instead we had like a range? So it's like we have no way to 100% know that like this,
And this,
but we had, I don't know.
Maybe it's like a description you give us back. Like it's not like a hardcore. You're at tier 3, but it's like you're seeing some nice nods.
okay, so this kind of plays like the passive approach to this, where it does shift the narrative, but it doesn't necessarily play into dice rolls, which I think is a fine way to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we wanted to attribute it to a more vague standing, I'm looking at my character sheet. What if we treat it like thresholds, where you've got like, say we start at 0, and we attribute a die, be it like, I don't know, like anywhere between like a D6 and a D12 of certain point values that we have affixed, like thresholds, where like if you go above like if you're between 0, or if you're between 10 and -10, then it's like a mid standing, it's kind of neutral space. But if you're 10 plus, that's good standing, or -10 minus, that's a bad standing.
Well, I kind of have that actually built in. And
Really?
So further in on the PDF, yes. So
rad.
if you are between 0 and -2, there's a standing. If you're lower than -2, there's a standing. If you're at 0, that's between 0 and -2. If you're at 1, that's kind of the neutral space, right?
Yeah.
If you're at 2, and it builds from there. So I do have that built in.
I was thinking, like, what if I like the mechanical bonuses you're giving, right? What if we have some sort of like mild hint at how we're doing, right? Some kind of like looks around the room or like reactions or something, and then you add the bonuses to the
Difficulty.
difficulty.
Yep. That's the way to do it.
Lower.
Yeah, then you don't know.
Yeah.
And the narrative can still play out the way it plays out.
I was trying to figure out, because I was reading it. I zoomed in.
Yeah.
I was like, you had all these rolls, and you had, plus your standing or whatever. If we don't know what it is, but
How do you
that
know?
works.
That
If
works.
you set the difficulty and we just give you the number.
And you'll
I
get
feel
a
like that's very similar to when we would take the hide action when we would play
Right.
D&D, where like we don't know how well we hide, so but
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good resolution.
I like that.
But then, with the passive, we can read the room, like Eric was saying, or whoever said it. Okay, sorry.
Give him his cred.
I questioned if
Oh,
it
the
was
bears
you.
are fighting again.
Okay.
Again.
You told me I wasn't a chode.
That we'll be able to read the room. That if we're not really welcome here.
Right. You
They're-
will be able to read that.
Yeah.
Or one person in particular might have, a standing that puts them either in a revered category or a really unfavorable category.
Okay.
Okay. This
Let's
is
see
good.
how it goes.
Yeah.
It's something new, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. can we talk a little bit about Amicora and the framework for what we're about to get into?
Yes, please.
So again, I'm not going to get into my whole sort of reading my written descriptions where I go deep.
The tooth.
The tooth.
You could if you wanted to.
I want to save that for the more
Save that
dramatic
for the
session
more-
one,
Yeah.
if that's okay. So here it is in a nutshell. As some of you know, but I'll describe it as if you don't, Amicora is a bustling port city on the western coast of the continent of Emberfell, which is one of 3 continents on the planet of Vesper, which is our homebrew world. So we've zoomed way out, let's zoom back in. This port city has one interesting element to it from an advantageous standpoint, and that is its trade. Its constant coming and going of ships bring all kinds of different ores, materials, technology into the port city. This has turned Amicora into a haven for inventors and clanks, the invention of clanks. The tinkerers, sort of populate the city. Okay. Now, its trade, its underground dealings, its sort of black markets, the presence of both clanks and the tinkerers who make them, make this a really flavorful, almost steampunk-like city. Now, I'm going to briefly touch on magic systems just so you understand how they work, because we do have 3 sorcerers in the group, and we're going to be playing using my homebrew mechanics for magic systems. Inside of the world of Vesper, there are 3 primary magic systems. Okay, I'm only going to talk about 2 of them because I don't want to complicate this too much. On the continent of Emberfell, the primary magic system emanates from the mycelial network. There is a mycelial network that is vast, as there is in most forms of nature, that sort of nets together and underpins all that grows. That mycelial network functions as a kind of energy force that casters have figured out how to harness and turn into the magical spells and things that they cast. Okay? But here's the thing. Mycelial networks are subject to soil conditions, environmental conditions, and of course they are a life force, so they can flourish and they can die. They can also have zones of protection where they don't like to grow. So, as you get closer to the coastlines of Emberfell, we find the soil composition to be very, very sandy. Silica in sand is an insulator, and it actually prevents the mycelial energy force from emanating past it. So if you're a caster that primarily relies on the mycelial network for your casting abilities, you will find that when you're near the coast, you lose your magic. So what happens here? Well, as humanity and civilization has evolved, they found that there was a secondary source of magic that ironically grows near the sea. But this is very, very different. Mycelial networks are kind of passive. They exist. We draw the energy out of them. We cast our spells. We don't think twice about it. Near the sea, arcane power, mana, if you will, for lack of a better word, is harvested from a small seed bean that grows in a pod of the Campfire plant beneath the ocean, in the shallows, but beneath the ocean. Ironically, the Campfire plant is also part of a rhizome network. That means they all grow and communicate with one another underneath the seabed. These pods produce these small blue, white, glowing seed beans. They're like a little squishy berry, about the size of a blueberry. It's called Andira. Andira is harvested because when Andira is ingested, you now have the magical energy to expend as a caster to cast those very same spells. The problem is that it's a consumable, and so it runs out. And you as a caster are responsible to keep that on your person. One Andira seed bean will give you the arcane energy you need to cast for 1 day, or the periods between 2 long rests. Andira, because it is a powerful substance, is regulated and controlled by the various governments of the different port cities and towns around the continent. So it's not easy to get. You also have to have a permit to get it, ironically. Now, most casters already have this. This is part of your person. It's not something I'm going to put you through, all of the hoops to get. You have a question?
I have a question.
Yes. I need to take a breath.
I got you. I knew you needed that, and I'm here. Is there any way to have an Andira mechanic where you have certain Andiras in your inventory, and as you take them, they clear stress? Because stress is usually how you cast magic. Is there any way to do that and then have some side effects possibly as a mechanic? Maybe like if you have popped too many at a time, you still clear stress, but you lose HP.
Well, now that's
overdose.
interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. But there is another side to Andira I should probably mention. See, these rhizome beds of the Campfire plant underneath the ocean that grow together occasionally find themselves running out of space to grow. And they, as a sentient kind of entity, need to look for a new space. Now, the Andira energy that grows inside of these Campfire plants is what allows them to communicate with one another. But they need to look for a new place to grow. So they will send out a singular plant on a long shoot that goes a great distance away, trying to seek out a new place to grow. And that singular plant is vulnerable because it's alone and needs to communicate with the rest of its network because it's far away. Normal Andira does not do that job. So it produces a royal pearl. It is a singular Andira bead that is actually dark purple. It almost glows black. And it is a supercharged Andira bean. These are highly sought after and traded on the black market for a lot of coin. But they also have found a way to use these things to create batteries of sorts. Those batteries have powered a new generation of clanks. And those clanks are the ones that are sort of rumored to have sentience. Now, I'm sort of getting away from your mechanical question a little bit. So let me come back to that.
I love the lore.
If somebody should consume a royal pearl that's inexperienced at taking such a thing, there will be an arcane burst that actually happens inside them. I'm loath to make this reference right now.
I'm just reveling in arcane burst.
Arcane burst.
So that's
you know
what
where
they're
I'm
calling
going
it
with
these
this?
days.
I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
So for those of you that have ever played Magic the Gathering,
Oh,
Nope.
no.
if you ever tap mana but then fail to spend that mana, you suffer mana burn for the magical energy that you've utilized but have not expended. And so the consumption of a Royal Andira Pearl actually gives you almost immediate mana burn because you, as a caster, especially a low-level caster, as you go up in level, this becomes easier to manage. But as a low-level caster, you can't handle it. You're actually going to suffer damage from that. Now, I'm not going to bust that table out now, but I can, and that's going to appear in the module when it comes out.
So then I guess on like the other side of that, does a caster build a tolerance to it?
In a sense, over time.
Like when you're on a medicine for too long, your body's like, this doesn't affect me as much.
And you need more.
Yeah.
Correct. Plus, the spells you're casting are of a higher level, higher power. You need more to power that. So, yes, that's actually part of the mechanic. So, here's the thing I don't want to do, Rich, with that is in the spirit of the Daggerheart game, sort of relieving us of some of the crunchiness of these mechanics in the spirit of storytelling.
Yeah.
I don't want to overcomplicate it. I'm actually a little insecure that I already have.
No, that makes sense. We want to keep it Daggerheart.
I want to keep it Daggerheart.
Yeah.
I don't want to go overboard with this.
Yeah.
But I do, these mechanics were already part of my world before Daggerheart, before we decided to adopt Daggerheart into this world. So I'm trying to both maintain the integrity of the world I've built and keep the game pointed towards the fiction.
No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Eric brought up something funny.
What's that?
Mana burn has been removed from Magic the Gathering many years ago.
So that, Eric will tell you how long it's been since I played that game.
Well, I
Beta.
just messaged in the chat. I said he's a very old Magic the Gathering player.
I look at Garrett and I'm like, do you know where I'm going with this? As if everybody knows what mana burn is, but I'm obviously like, you know.
I was like, I don't remember playing that in Commander.
I do
I play
like
Magic.
I do like what Eric said. There must be a third magic source on Vesper. 3 gods, 3 magic sources.
3 continents, 3 moons.
And he did say 3 continents.
Yeah, you're on to
And he
it.
said he was there in '93 too.
This is so.
That's a call out, man. It totally is, and I'm accepting it.
It's so funny to have an Eric in the chat and an Eric at the table.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
really confused for a second. I was like, what did I say?
We're saying Eric
You
said,
didn't say
Eric
nothing.
said.
You were too busy, you know,
What?
DJing.
Nippling it up
right,
over
Any
there.
given day.
I think you can't say nipple. I feel like
So that's the basic.
it's a bleeping word.
That's the basic framework for Amicora, but what I want to know from all of you is what question. I will answer questions that don't reveal too much about the story. I am going to reveal a little bit about the story, but what questions do you have right off the bat? Any?
Oh,
How in relation to clanks, how like has there been resistance to this next generation of magical clanks from the clank community, or is there like, I don't know, I'm kind of trying to gauge the impact of this new, I don't know if upgrade is the right word, but like
It is the right word.
this new boundary that's being pushed. Like, how does that really affect the city as a whole?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and there is definitely a lot going on around that. So first of all, the clanks of old tended to be more mechanical, steam-powered gear and linkage kind of systems. And they're obvious when you see them. They've got the whirring of gears. You can kind of hear it. The newer clanks that are more arcane powered have a much more sophisticated system of maneuverability and mechanical ability. So right off the bat, when you see them, they're very different. That in and of itself is going to create this kind of alarm on the part of people that have grown up seeing clanks be a certain way. These clanks, these newer clanks, clank is even a tough word for these. They're more android-like because they've got a more fluid movement, right? So with that, speech patterns, the recognition of different types of individuals and tasks and commands and personabilities amongst this newer generation has grown to the point where occasionally the owners of such clanks or the interactive, community finds themselves accepting them as almost peers. Now, there are people that both love that and people that are both terrified of that. Because now there's a movement among the people that love it that want to have these beings have rights that they might not have had before. And there's actually the beginnings of a group of clanks that are pushing for that. And then, of course, there's a massive resistance that's pushing back against that, right? So Amicora is on the verge of something obviously very new, and when we're faced with new technology, we often have people that push back against it and people that embrace it. And that's where we're at with this.
So it's kind of like the beginnings of like a clank civil rights movement.
In a way. Yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
so dope.
Yeah, it exactly is that.
Okay, so my only question here,
Yep.
and I just looked it up in the book.
Yep.
So I know Daggerheart has adapted a little more of a loose gold system, handful,
Yeah.
bags, chests.
Yeah.
They do have an optional rule to keep track of coins.
Yes.
10 coins to a handful. So my question is, with the Andira mechanism, we do have casters in our party. Are we going to essentially start with some? Because you said the casters would have already been registered people, etc. Are we going to start with some? What is that number? What does it cost to get more? Are you going to come up with black market, because I know those were some things that came up in our other campaign that we adapted this a little bit.
Right.
So just that's my only question.
Well, let me get Olivia's question
It
first, and then I'll...
just goes off with that, and is it something that's like easily forageable?
Don't worry, it's been leaning. Candle's been leaning for.
That that was the universe saying, "Shut up." Is it something that's like easily forageable? Like in our other campaigns, when we've walked through the woods to find mushrooms, it's something that like if we knew what it looked like, we could find it. Is it something that like with that?
That's a great question too. So here's the thing about this. Is number one.
Where was it?
Here, it's not gonna stay.
Yeah.
You can just give it back to me.
Okay.
Give me a candle.
I will say this. In the spirit of not over-mechanizing this particular campaign, where I make you stop and go shopping for Andira and calculate coins, which is all well and good, and I would love to do that. One of the things that's important, I think, about this mechanic as a magic system in Daggerheart is, let's say you got on a ship and you were going to be at sea. It would probably be important to stock up on this and make sure that you had it. You're in a city where it's harvested right off the coast of this city. It's readily available. It's inexpensive. It's part of your day-to-day existence as it stands. So I'm not sure if we necessarily need to get that granular. Now, if you want to get that granular, I happily will. And we can make that part of, like it's like the whole thing of, if you're a ranged weapon fighter and you've got a quiver of arrows and you just know that you're going to pick up your arrows, fine, let's play that way. But if you want to keep track of every arrow and buy arrows when you're in town, I love doing that too. Yeah.
I think that's more of a long-term campaign type thing. I think for the punchy 3-shot, we just, thematically working in. Maybe like at an interesting point you want to role play, maybe your character leans over to the side and pops a little Andira. You want to work it in this story?
Exactly.
Cool.
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Andira.
No, that works.
Are you good with that?
No, that's fine.
Are you good with that?
I just wanted the idea of how it was going to work. But
To answer Olivia's question about, is it findable? Is it something you can forage for? Yes, but that would require a certain amount of, honing a skill.
Yeah.
Because number one, there are harvesters that go out and do this as sort of like, like a fishing trade would. Yeah. And then of course it's all inventoried as it comes into the docks. And so if you were to just kind of like take your own gear and go out into the ocean and bring it to shore, you'd be, poaching essentially. And that's a crime.
Well, I mean, I am in the Cyborn community, so
And it would totally fit.
Yeah.
It would totally fit. Yeah.
Question. Now, you might not be able to answer this, but where are we falling on timeline relating to Andira's Embers and or the Rising campaign?
That's a good question.
That is a good question, and I had not thought about that.
Oh.
Well, I'm guessing that there weren't this level of sentience clanks during the Andira's Embers campaign.
But what about the Rising
That is true.
campaign?
I will say this about the current campaign that you're about to engage in a Clockwork Silence. This is going to start out with our hook is going to deal with a clank inventor known by the name of Aurora Flux. And Aurora Flux was just about to unveil her latest invention at a conference. There's actually a center of technology in Amicora. She was about to unveil something that she called, and I don't have my notes in front of me right now, but it is called the Veritas engine. Thank you. I had to think of the name. It took me a second. There's so many names. The Veritas engine was something she revered to be breakthrough, something that was going to change the way humanity lived on the planet of Vesper for the rest of time. And then all of a sudden, Aurora Flux disappeared. Her studio, her workshop, is locked up tight, but strangely, there is a deep, resonating hum emanating from that workshop. And the townspeople are scared. They don't know what's happening. So yes, we are taking place after Andira's Embers, but not 50 years, not 20 years, but maybe 5 or 6, 10 years after that.
Okay.
Thereabouts. And what about the Rising campaign?
I'm going to leave Rising out of this one,
Okay.
but I would say that we're probably, if we're 5 to 10 years after Andira's Embers, that means that we are probably 10 to 20 years before Rising.
Oh, okay.
Can I plug the Slim for a second?
Go for it.
Me and Todd did a Daggerheart Slim, which is basically like a.
We invented this.
We invented this. We're coining the term Daggerheart Slim. It's like a 30-minute and under, highly produced, highly edited way to play Daggerheart. And during this Slim, there is a mention of Aurora Flux as a character. So if you would like a little teaser, a little appetizer before next Tuesday, go ahead and watch the Daggerheart Slim. It's called A Clank in the Road. So check it out. It was a lot of fun.
I got to tell you, as a GM, that was a challenge because it forced me to create an arc that was going to begin and end in under 30 minutes. And so that is hard. You know, you can't. I didn't want to leave it super open-ended. And I found myself, especially with allowing for flexibility, allowing the narrative to take its course, I'm like, how are we going to do this? But it worked.
Yeah, it worked really well. And now I'm like, what are these characters going to do?
I was very satisfied with that.
I want to get in on these.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to get in
Well, we
on
definitely
these.
want to make more, for sure. And I think Rich's intention was to play different characters and different environments.
They're like little vignettes.
They're
They're vignettes.
testing them almost too. Like if you're playing different characters and different things, you're testing out all of the different.
That's exactly what I did. I played
Yeah.
the new Emberkin, which is basically a character that was built of fire and like lava. So I was playtesting some of the new stuff.
Get me in there.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see. I don't know. It'd be really cool to see some of those characters in this 3-shot we do. That'd be sick.
Okay. Okay.
We'll see. Okay, so we have, I think, one last major thing to do tonight. I mean, we want to kind of flesh out these characters a little bit more. I think this is going to help us flesh them out, and that is this notion of connections. We go around the table, and we're going to talk about how you all relate to each other or know each other. Now, I know that some of those things are pre-built. So Eric and Addie, you have a pre-built backstory together. I don't know if anyone else did that. I don't think you did. That's fine. But what we're going to do is Olivia got this great item called the Ultimate RPG Campfire card deck. And it's basically a small game. It's a series of cards in 6 different categories, and it asks prompting questions for you to tell your campfire side story. We're going to use this to help establish some things. So I think that's going to be good. What else do we need? Is there anything else that we need to work out with our characters? Questions that you might have? By the way, I'm not sponsored by this. We just like it.
We're just using it. We've used it before and
used it
enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
we have used it before.
But if you want to sponsor us,
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Are we starting this mini campaign with the 5 of our characters already knowing each other?
well, that's what we're about to figure out.
So, in my mind, when I open this campaign, I will. So, first of all, in the interest of time and getting a full story arc in 3 sessions, yeah, I think we have to. I think, now, that being said, you don't all have to be present in the same space. We're not going to open this in a tavern, you know, like the cliched sort of opening, which there's nothing wrong with. But what I think we'll do is we'll bring this in as a series of scenes. You will all be maybe functioning separately. I'm going to talk to you about this over Discord this week, and you guys will be able to prepare for that.
Sweet.
But the essential idea is that you will all be in your respective places, wherever that may be, but you will understand the task at hand. You will understand what's going on in the city of Amicora. You will understand that you as a group have been tasked with figuring this out. But how we get there will be up to you and where you start. Okay?
Hell yeah.
How's that sound?
I love
Great.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Time to play the game.
I gotta thank all you new followers. I'm blown away. I'm like looking every once in a while, like glance over at the follower count, and you guys are like, thank you for following us. We love that. We have a Discord too. I think our moderator's putting the Discord link in the chat. So join the Discord.
Join it.
Hang out with us. We got some cool people over there. All right, should we do some connections?
Let's do it.
Okay. Don't feel pressure. If you can't answer these, We can
Or like off
pull
the
another
rip,
question.
Like the first thing
What's that?
that you feel. Like don't think about it too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes,
Just
and.
go
yes,
with your
and. Just yes, and.
Yes,
go with your gut. Yeah,
Watch
yes.
me say
don't.
that, and then I just can't
You'd
think
be
of
like,
something. I'm like,
The little like
Pass.
buffer wheel.
pass.
Like
That's
the fax
private.
machine noise.
That's
Pass.
private.
I'm
Can't
not
tell you.
revealing it yet. That's a
Oh,
secret.
here they are.
It's
Yeah.
my backstory. I can sense that coming from you over there.
Well, that's his way
I
out.
mean,
Yeah, I know.
assassin.
Pass.
That's all you're gonna
Assassin,
answer. What was your favorite childhood memory?
Assassin.
Assassin.
My first bloodletting.
I'm a sleeper agent.
Pass.
Oh,
Pass.
Blues Panda is in the Discord. Welcome. Welcome, Blues Panda.
Oh, nice. See, we got people going to the Discord already. That's perfect.
The conversation continues there. You hear a lot of things early there, so it's nice.
Well, I'm also going to say this. So when we did our Daggerheart marathon, our 17-hour marathon,
Oh,
we
we're
did a
gonna
giveaway,
go join the server.
and we gave away a Daggerheart core set. Not going to do that this time because that's expensive. But what I do have is I have this pouch.
Pouch.
What's in the pouch?
What's in the bag? What's in the bag? What's in the bag? The bag is filled, absolutely filled with D12s. Ooh. It's chock full of D12s. Now, for my Daggerheart people, D12 system, hope and fear dice. So I think what I'm going to do in each session is I'm going to reach into the bag and I'm going to pull out 2 dice. And then I'm going to give them away. All right, so I'm going to be sending out a lot of dice out of the month of July. Not super exciting, not as exciting as a Daggerheart core set.
But who doesn't like dice?
But who doesn't want some dice?
Dice fondled by Todd.
That's
Oh,
yeah.
God.
my.
You
Wait,
could
wait.
not have worded
Can we
that worse.
all touch them?
I think we should. all
Dice
talk-
fondled.
by
Wait, no.
everyone.
We change every session. Who touches the
Group
dice?
fondling.
Who wants stop saying fondle?
Who wants Addy fondled dice?
No!
I will personally wash all of these dice in my mouth for you.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Okay,
Eric
I think
Bathwater.
you've taken it to
It's
a point.
official.
Now
Off
nobody
the
wants
rails.
anything anymore.
My dad,
You
ladies and
can put the
gentlemen.
dice in a little jar that's full of Eric's spit.
Oh.
Guys,
Okay.
all right.
so let's do this game.
Sorry.
Let's do this game.
They're supercharged.
So this consists of 6 categories. Okay, I'm going to give you all a choice on a category, and then I'm going to have you answer a random question in that category, right?
Sorry, we just had a wicked comment from Eric that says fondle with fear.
Eric, that's awesome.
Only the
New
one
merch.
rolling hot
New
touches
merch.
the dice.
Oh my god, it's the Hat Man that says fondle
Please.
with fear. That's the new merch.
We need the Hat Man, Jay. Get the Hat Man, please.
Okay, 6 categories.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for reining it back in.
Yes.
No, but I like that. Fondle with fear. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to pick a category, and I'll ask you a random question from that category. And then when we come back around the second time, I'm going to pick the category and a random question for you to answer
Yeah.
from. Okay? So, All right, here we go. The categories are your past, your present, your companions, your dreams, your world, and then hypothetical situations.
Oh, crap. These are all good.
These are all good. We can go around multiple times. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pick a random category for you. I'm going to state the person, and I'm going to have the chat pick the category. So you guys are going to pick the
God.
category I asked them. First, they're going to pick their own category, but gear it up. Think about each of these characters right now
Pick that shit.
and decide which category you want me to pick from. So remember, your past, your present, your companions, your dreams, your world, or hypothetical situations.
Oh, I don't know.
Jay, can you
AKA
drop that
truth or
in
dare.
the? Can someone drop that list in the comments?
Oh yeah, so
in the
people
chat.
can know.
Yeah, we can get that. We can get that list in the comments for sure. Okay, so since we have started with Addie, we have started with Eric. We're gonna start
right in
with
the middle.
Rich.
Right in the middle.
Equilibrium.
Jesus.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Rich, how about a category?
It's playtime.
I get to pick.
Categories.
Can someone drop it? Okay, there it is.
Past, present.
Somebody wasn't paying attention.
Okay, what am I gonna pick? Past, present, companions, dreams, world, and hypothetical. With my character being who he is, I'm going with past.
The past.
Interesting.
Okay.
That's what I'm like.
I'm going to pick up the cards from the past. For my ASMR friends out there, here's a nice shuffle.
It's like you're here with us.
What?
It's like they're here with us.
It's like they're here with us. All right, I'm pulling one for you. Your question about your past. Ay, ay, ay.
Oh boy.
What is the best compliment you have ever
Oh.
received, and who gave it to you?
Oh my god.
Oh.
Is that too surface level?
I mean, it
It's
is
as
gonna.
surface level as you make it. That's
I was gonna say you could turn it into something,
Yes,
but
and.
I'm gonna make you commit to it.
I'm committing to it. All right, no mulligans.
yes and.
What's the best compliment I've ever received? And what was the rest, Todd?
And who gave
it
it
to
to
Yeah,
you?
who gave it to me? It's interesting. There was a simia who was almost like a father figure to me. His name was Jason. And right after some traumatic events happened in my life, I didn't really know if I had it in me to continue. And this, call it a compliment, call it whatever. It was very simple, but it stayed with me forever. And he, as soon as I started working with them, he said, "Hey, kid, you might just make it." And then walked away. And I think I've been just making it.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
good.
How much more film noir could you get?
No, it needed to be like a
The Hat Man
Yeah.
came out of the corner and said, "Nice feet."
What? The heck?
Can we hide a hat man in our streams so whenever anybody finds it can be like a prize?
Dame walks into my office
Yes,
wearing a hat.
write that down. Write that down. We're hiding a hat man in the stream.
Oh my gosh.
You and I are gonna talk later.
You
about
need to
that.
be stopped.
All right, Rich. Thank you for that.
Rich is getting a write up.
Let's see. I'm gonna put Garrett to the task next.
You just Wilhelm scream?
I don't know. I did not like that past question. I mean, shit, let's try present.
Present. All right. I'm picking up the present deck.
I'm like nervous for my
give it a
card.
shot,
Yeah, I'm not.
No pressure.
I don't know if
gonna
she's
be a
fleshed,
gift.
but like I don't know if my character's fleshed out enough. But I think
Yeah, no, I'm
No such thing.
But remember,
We're
this
doing
is
it
the
now.
way to flesh it
We're
out.
doing it now.
Right? That's okay. You don't base
Okay.
it on no knowledge. Just pull it from somewhere. Garrett,
put it from your.
your question for
better be a
the
good
present. I could never forgive someone who ... and why.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
I love that, actually.
That's a good one.
See, I like these cards.
Let's see where this
cards are
character
cute.
falls morally, huh?
The assassin over here.
God, that fits the assassin so well.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we
It's-
ran into
It's
last
almost
time.
it's almost too easy. But I mean, we're just riffing it off, right?
Yeah.
I could never forgive someone ... that betrays family or found family.
Found family.
I like that.
Okay. Okay.
Found family.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
Look out.
Why? Because
Why?
why is on the card.
Oh, yeah, but why?
See, that's where we
that's
get,
where
that's where we dig in.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Generate
Digging in
those
the heels.
experiences.
Why is that, Garrett?
What happened
What?
to you?
Who hurt
What?
you?
Who hurt you? Get out of my head.
Who hurt you?
Oh, I don't know if anyone hurt me in particular.
Who wronged your
Who
nona?
hurt? Who hurt your family?
Your nona.
What?
Who hurt your family?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty common in, you know, gangs and stuff like that that some people double cross. So, I mean, I think, you know, staying loyal to, you know, your group is part of the thing. It's the best I got.
I think that works very well.
Yeah.
And so it
Phenomenal.
really establishes a ground for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nicely done.
You got a code.
Now I'm going to jump over here.
Oh God!
You knew it was going over
no,
there.
I didn't. Okay.
You,
I don't know if I should. I feel like I got to do a different one.
Yeah, mix it up.
Well, you still have your dreams, your companions, your world, or hypotheticals.
I'm between dreams and hypotheticals.
Okay.
Wait, let me put something out there. You're the only person with a companion.
I know, but in terms of companions, I feel like that is more so like
All of us?
your party.
Okay.
So I thought about companion because I thought that would be interesting.
That could be an interesting way to let your party know something, you know, about you.
Yeah.
True. Not trying to push you on the
No,
card, but
I think I'm gonna do dreams.
Nice.
Dreams.
Dreams has that one's interesting to me,
That's a good one.
and I don't remember that category too much when we played it the last time, which is a little scary.
Dream.
No, my dream journal.
Mr. Electric,
George
take him down to the
Lopez.
principal's office and have him expelled.
okay, your dreams card.
uh-oh.
What object would you like to own someday, and what makes it appeal to you?
Ooh.
Ooh, interesting. I was considering dreams as like your
Like yeah,
subconscious
sleepy time
experience.
dream.
Yeah, this
But
is like
this is like hopes and dreams.
hopes and dreams.
Ooh.
Love that.
That's good.
What object would I hope to own?
Just to be clear, you can make the object up.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Columbus.
Dad,
I think. Oh, that's tough. Here I am, like struggling on what to say.
Yeah,
like I
right.
said, I predicted this.
Cook. Let her cook.
She's cooking. She's cooking. I think she would love to own, or I would love to own, which is a little interesting, some type of implantable chip that can go in like your temple or like behind an ear that lets you have like a visual display of like the world that you're in, like a map of everything. And working with your brain waves to be like, I'm thinking of X, and it can show you that. So if you're like trying to get to a place, almost like your little GPS type thing, like I'm thinking of this shop, and you can see the layout of
Wow.
that.
That's kind of
that's interesting for your character.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
She doesn't, it's not that she wants to have her vision fixed, but something like that.
Yeah, like an augmented reality.
Yeah, almost.
And the second part of this question is what makes it appeal to you, but I don't know if we need
I don't
to
think I
answer
need to
that.
answer
but yeah. That's solid. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
I think that's it.
Okay. Eric, we're going to jump over to you. What category would you like?
I was going to do dreams, but in the spirit of keeping things new and original, I'm going to go with hypothetical.
Hypotheticals.
Ooh, okay.
I was kind of
That was the one I was between.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hypotheticals.
Now I'm interested.
I know nothing about these cards right now, but this one seems exciting to me. Shuffling the just drop the hypothetical.
That's it.
That's the one.
That's
Yes,
the one.
that's
one.
That's
You
the
have to
card.
do it.
That's the
Yeah.
one. It's like a tarot
I
deck.
don't play with any cards that haven't hit the ground.
Of course, we're making you under the table.
Yeah, I'm like, you're making me go under the table.
Bend
That's
for
the one.
it. Bend for
I
it.
got it.
Bend for it is crazy.
still work.
Oh.
You see? Jumped out at ya.
Oh.
Okay. This is a good
shit.
one. What would be the first thing you would change about your life if you suddenly became wealthy? and why?
That's nice.
This is the question you ask when you're holding the Powerball ticket in your hand, but it hasn't been drawn yet.
Sure as shit, I'm not letting anybody know I want it if I did win it.
There will be signs.
There would be signs. What aspect of my life would I have changed if I was wealthy? I think Flo would spare no expense in resurrecting his mother.
Oh.
Man.
Wow. And getting to know her.
You know, the answers to these questions sometimes don't require the second part, which is, you can imagine me, I'm like, why?
Why? Why do you want to talk to your mom?
Because I don't know. I wanted to know what color she wanted to paint the kitchen. Fucking cares.
I know. Right? I mean, that's such a beautiful answer to that question. That's such a beautiful answer.
That was beautiful.
Okay.
Thank
Now,
you for sharing.
I know you said you were born of mixed heritage.
Yeah. Yeah.
What one was your mother?
She was Clank.
Mm.
She was a very,
Mother, dude.
very special Clank.
A clank that gave birth.
Yes.
Talk about like
To a
injecting content into injecting story, lore into this notion of clank sentience and clank human rights. Now we have a clank that gave birth.
That's crazy.
I think the city's going to mandate that your mother be resurrected.
I mean, you know, it might happen. Who knows?
That's
Like,
interesting. No, that's really interesting. I love that. Addie, we're going over to you.
See the
Hi.
gears turning over there?
Hi.
I mean, the only one that hasn't been done is Companions.
And your world.
Oh.
Oh, and World!
Yeah, your world.
Balls! Oh. Man.
Roll a hope and fear dice.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that. All right.
Oh, yeah. How about this? Since Companions is red and World is green, World is hope, Companions is fear.
Fear.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
I'm
fear for
afraid
your
of my
companions.
companions.
You can fear for your, not fear them, but fear for them.
I think we're doing Companions. My fear die was a 7. My hope die was a 3.
A 3. All right.
So we're doing Companions.
All right. I am shuffling Companions.
Sweet.
And here comes your companion question. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, this has bullet points.
Oh! I love a good bullet point.
If you had the time, wealth, power, what would you most like to do for one of your companions?
Oh, come on.
Oh, time, wealth, power. I think Sparky would, using the time, wealth, and power, Sparky would find the first adult that they charged themselves with protecting. And within that kind of realm of searching and expenditure of resources would rebuild the family that they didn't know they lost.
Okay. That one did not have an extra point to it. But I feel like, again, the sentiment is, really touching and beautiful. So, all right, this is good. We're gonna do this one more time, but I'm gonna put it to the chat.
Yeah.
Let's go, chat. Participate.
Chat.
Participate.
All right, chat. We're gonna start. We're going right back to Rich, and I want the chat. The first person to tell me the category that Rich has to answer, I will pull from that category.
Who's gonna do it?
So who is gonna give us a category? I don't want to wait too long, but you guys are pretty active out there. So give me a category for Rich
I promise
to
to
answer with. There is a slight delay in the transmission time of this, so I can expect it to take a few seconds.
Yeah.
Let's see what we get.
Sending energy out to the chat.
What do we want to know about Rook?
Dreams.
Dreams from Curtis.
Curtis, my guy.
Dreams.
Also, Curtis looks like the Hat Man in his picture.
I'm not gonna lie.
How do we know what the Hat Man looks
I'm not gonna lie. Our tech pro over here, who's running this stream for us, Saturn. Thank you, Saturn. Is currently working on a Hat Man to hide in the stream.
Yes.
Seriously? Yes.
That's great.
All right, Curtis. Here comes the dream card that we're gonna ask.
We got a
Rich.
We got a second up for
Dreams.
dreams.
Oh, everybody wants to know your dreams, Rook.
Oh.
Oh.
World.
Oh no.
Oh.
Look, I'm just gonna look across the table at you one time. One time. And if you don't
wait to
understand
hear
what this
this
look
card.
I
means,
got it already.
good. All right? Try to contain yourselves when I ask this question, okay?
Oh, I can't wait.
No promises.
Who would you love to take out on a date? And what would you want to do together?
We don't know anything about Rook.
The only thing I haven't thought of for this character.
Also, now you have the question.
Who he wants to go on a date.
Now, if anyone watched our marathon,
I know. That's why I gave him the look.
I was very passionate. I played a passionate character.
You did, and it was fine. It was fine.
Okay.
My look is not to stop you from. Well,
No,
sort of-
you're good. I'm trying to get there.
Take your time.
it's such an odd one.
Yeah.
It's a good one, though.
Makes you think.
While we're waiting for Rich to decide on that, we've got less than an hour to go in this stream because we're coming down to the end. Can you guys get us to 1,700 followers tonight?
Oh,
Can you get
man.
us there?
Are we close?
Nine to go.
Oh.
9?
Nine to go.
9 to go. Let's
Nine
go.
times.
So let's see if you're out there and you haven't followed yet.
Times.
Come
Do it.
on. I'm begging you.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go.
During my days in the Slyborn community, there was a girl. And this girl was half fungal, half human. And being where I'm at, it's interesting and almost like a little bit of kinship to find a fellow fungal. And her name was Mahekady. And
She was a fun girl.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I couldn't contain myself any further.
Let him cook.
He's
her
cooking.
name was Mahekady, and I never really shot my shot, but there was always a little bit of tension there, you know? And this was during a time when I was sleeping, so I was relatively, like personable. One might say I had a little bit of charisma, a little bit of presence, even. And, but out of respect for this Mahekady's stature, in the community, I never shot my shot. But if those cards were still on the table, I'd really love to show Mahekady this little river I know under Amicora. It's kind of a river that's not known by everybody, not well traveled, but it is lit up through pockets of Andira. The river itself is in like a tunnel, so it would be pitch black without the Andira, but it's lit up blue and it's romantic, and I'd like to take her there if that was possible.
That's nice. One of our commenters, Spiely, in the comments said it could be no one. But I think that was challenging. You pulled that off pretty nicely. I'm changing the music to something more sitting around the campfire.
I like that.
Because I feel like these are fireside stories. And that one made me feel like, the somber.
Will you be my Cilium?
Made you feel like a what?
It was like a somber,
That's crazy.
Kind of feel to it.
Well, that was really nice to me because like I hadn't thought actually like that part of Rook. I never thought about like just there were some interpersonal relationships, but something so inconsequential like that I didn't think about with him. So it was nice to go there.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about these. And somebody said it earlier in the chat. It said so nice to with Spiely again. I love character building prompts like these that ask players to answer questions they wouldn't have necessarily asked of themselves.
Yeah,
it's like perfect.
Yeah, and I guess I was like in the beginning I was like, oh, maybe this isn't like that exciting of a question, but I guess there is no real boring question because they all go places that you might not have thought of.
Yeah.
And I also like what Witcher said. So she's a fun girl. Fun girl?
Yeah, I know. That's what Eric had mentioned that too.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's it's like the old joke.
You were cooking.
Yeah, my bad. I was in the zone.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
You were not shooting your shot.
Oh my
I really
god.
thought we got past that.
And I was the mature one here.
I know. It's all good. Garrett, we're coming back to you. All right, chat.
no.
Garrett
All right,
is
chat.
the next one to be asked a question from a random category. What do we got?
First one. Well, what did you do before? Past? No. Present?
You did present.
Present.
last
So
time.
something different than
Something
present.
other than present, so we can change it up.
Can I comment on that?
Who's got one for
No,
Garrett?
because you're ahead of the chat.
Oh yeah, I'd be cheating.
Let's see. What
We're
the
at
chat
91.
says.
Keep it going. Let's get to 1700, y'all.
That's right.
We got it.
We'll see if the chat bumps into
I
something
don't
here.
like. I don't like this.
The wait in.
The waiting.
Well, the waiting has to do with the
Hypothetical.
All
Ooh.
right.
Oh my god.
Hypothetical comes to
Hypothetical.
Double
twice.
hypo. Oh, I love
Right.
it.
Thank you, Spiely and Eric. We're going to hypothetical.
Okay.
A third
A third
hypothetical.
hypothetical. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
You were really
strong.
liking the
Clay
hypothetical.
Houston. All right, here comes your hypothetical.
Okay.
As per the chat, would you be willing to spend 5 years as an emperor with absolute authority if you had to spend the following 5 years as a pauper or prisoner? The sub-question is, would the power be worth the challenges later on?
Ooh.
Interesting.
Just kill yourself.
But what? I mean,
That's a way out.
what's the other option? Just not doing it?
Assassinate
Like
yourself.
killing
At
yourself.
the end of
Well,
your
I think the
term.
question is, would you be willing to gain the power in trade for the exchange, which is, no power?
Short-term gain.
Well, it's equal, 5 and 5.
It's true.
Okay, this
these
is-
questions are fucking gold.
This is hypothetical. This is very hypothetical.
Well, totally hypothetical.
mean,
yeah, obviously you're not gonna.
We've got people on the other side of the table that just says pretty much off yourself after the end of your, your power. Which, thinking about that is just, yeah.
You can also go a different route. There's a way to if you want to try to outsmart it, think of who are you making this deal with, and can you change your appearance to escape it?
I was that's almost where I was going.
Fuck, I'm sorry, man.
No, I mean, but no, it's fine. I was almost going that way where it's like, if you were in power, could you set yourself up so it wasn't as bad?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe you work
Because you
to
said you said imprisoned or just in
If you had to spend the following 5 years as a pauper or prisoner.
or prisoner. I mean, aren't there famous prisoners that have like set up, like nice jail cells and stuff for them, like with TVs and who
Do you
was
remember?
that?
Do you remember earlier in the stream when I said the thing about going left or going right?
I mean, I think my character, not knowing too much of his backstory, I think he would take the power for the 5 years, just to experience the power, coming from like a Slyborn community and just like being in that, area and just thinking of the power and maybe corruption that he could do. I think he would do it. And then, I guess face the consequences.
Oh, well, I think this has a lot to do with where you come from naturally, right?
Yeah.
Because going back to being a pauper or even a prisoner, you might have experienced that already.
True.
So the gain might be well worth it.
Yeah, I think my character would definitely do it.
That's a very cool question. That's a very, I like that.
What would you do with the power during your 5 years?
What would I do with the power?
Sorry to.
Abolish all prisons and give everybody equal funding.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah,
Oh my god.
You could do
Literally.
that. You could
talk about
redistribute
loopholes, I mean.
wealth.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
It says absolute
almost-
authority.
I almost went that way where it was like, if I was part of a gang, maybe, I pardon people or, I don't know. That's the only thing that's really coming to mind is like it, or a redirection of wealth potentially.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I don't
A
know.
little Robin Hood action.
So by the time you go to be a pauper, you're a middle class pauper.
Maybe.
Maybe
I'm
there's nothing
imagining
wrong with
that,
being a pauper.
I'm imagining my character would probably do some messed up stuff and would probably end up imprisoned.
Okay.
We all
right.
live in our own prisons.
Sounds like a fun guy.
Maybe you'll date him. Moving over to Olivia.
Okay, so I already did dreams.
You
so it
already
has
did
to be
dreams. So
something
we're
to
going
put
to ask the chat.
dreams.
We're coming up on Valith or Olivia's question, who has already done dreams. So let's pick one.
I'm scared. Why am I nervous?
Please. It's
kind of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
What do we got
I
for
don't know what I
Olivia,
would
people?
want, to be honest.
Hit us up.
There are no right answers.
We hit 1693.
By the way, we're at
I know.
1693.
We got
7 to
more.
go. Keep it alive, everybody.
climbing.
Keep
Here we
it
go.
alive.
We need
You're-
7 more.
You guys are
Remember
doing
to
awesome.
join the Discord as well. You can keep the
World.
conversation
Yes.
going.
World.
Okay.
Oh, world it is.
Oh, Eric said you was present, but it was next.
Whoa.
World.
World.
All right.
World.
Is that the only one we haven't
World.
done?
It's playtime.
I don't think we've done
I don't think
world.
we've
Yeah.
done World.
No.
Ooh.
Thank you,
That's a good
Clay,
one.
for introducing
That's a little
the
scary.
category that has not been
Bless
touched.
you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so world for you, Olivia. Here we go. Who makes the best food in the world?
Banger.
Oh my
Banger
god.
question.
What makes it special?
Oh. Who makes,
Who makes the best
food?
food in the world?
Wow.
Who made food?
Can I just put this out there while you're thinking about
Yeah.
that? Imagine this for a moment, this type of question. I mean, often these questions try to dig deep into the psyche or your dreams or your past and your backstory, and they're very dramatic. But like you're sitting around a campfire, you're on an adventure, you've been on the road for 3 days, you've been eating like the squirrel you managed to kill, and you're just having this moment where you're like, God, you know what I could go for right now? Do you remember that stew that they used to make at the Crow? Back
When
when
the
we used to
mutton
eat
was
that,
nice and
they'd stuff
lean.
it full of that shit. That's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
There is this little hole in the wall. Almost like a tavern. Not exactly, because it was too small to be considered a tavern. And there was really only 2 to 3 tables in there. 1 to 2 seats per table. And it was very skinny. A skinny establishment. But there was a very young, like, sous chef almost in the establishment. His name was Ren. and he was brutalized by the chef in this establishment. And he would make off-menu things when the place closed. And he would let me in the back door, because I'm not a huge fan of crowds of people. And he would make the absolute best soup in the entire world, no matter the season. And that's it. That's who makes the best food.
Holy
Rad.
shit. I mean, it wasn't even about the food. It was really about the setting
Yeah.
and the character. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yep. That's who makes the best one. Was there a
Ren
follow-up question?
Ren the battered sous chef.
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
love that.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I feel bad for
No
Ren,
soup
dude.
for you.
Right?
No soup for you.
No soup. No soup for chef. That's beautiful.
Yeah. That's
Nicely
it.
done.
Yep.
All right. We're going over to Eric. All right,
What
chat.
you got, chat?
What you got for
What you
Eric?
got?
Right.
What you got?
Let's see.
We all want to know what Flo is up to.
We're still on the fun girls?
Yeah, we are.
It's becoming a wormhole.
Yeah, the wormhole's going
We
deep.
need fun girl merch.
All Fun Girl Party.
Oh my god.
Next series.
By the
What
way,
did
we do have a merch shop on our website. We've only got a couple
Yeah.
things on there, but at witherandbloomstudios.com, you can go get an embroidered hoodie. You could get, first of all, I designed a shirt that says, "I'm gonna spend a fear." You know, I wanted that just for me because I want that as a GM, and I'm gonna wear that if the damn thing would come. I'm gonna wear that
Companion.
during
Ooh,
what
companion.
companion it is. All right, Witcher. Thank you.
Hot.
Companion. Where is it? Here it is. Your companions.
I
Companion.
love how people are doubling up.
Yeah.
I know, they're
This is
picking
great.
the same
Also
thing.
said companion.
I guess
That makes me
Companion
think
would
of
be
what
sick.
Spiely was saying, or somebody said, "We are one."
Yeah.
We are a hive.
Hive.
We are hive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's going back
Oh,
to
the
we are
hive mind.
bored.
Companion
Another
hives. We are
companion.
Borg. Resistance is futile.
All right, your companions. Who do you trust the most among your companions?
Oh.
What have they done to inspire this trust? Now, I'm not going to say anything. I will inject this. I wasn't going to say
Inject
anything, but
away.
now I'm going to say something. You do know all of these companions.
Right.
So I'll let that be up to you, but I just want you to know that you do know everybody at the start of this campaign.
Imagine he trusts you the most. You don't even know why. That's crazy.
Give it to me again. Give it to me again. Give it to me again.
Please.
Do you want him to give it to you again?
3 times. 3 times.
Give it to them, man.
We're not only 3 gods,
He's
but you must ask
begging
every
at this
question
point.
3 times. Who do you trust the most among your companions, and what have they done to inspire this trust?
See, there's an easy answer to this, and then there's a harder answer to this. A more challenging answer to this. And it's that left or right turn in the road moment.
Yeah. Yep. I know. Go up.
Left, right, up, down.
Yes, and?
Yes, and.
Thank you. Yes,
Question
and is,
mark?
Yes,
is exactly right.
Question mark.
Question mark.
Yeah, this is a big Spiely 76 says this is
Yeah, this is a big question.
because this could set the tone for a bunch of stuff coming up.
Right. 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 Right.
You know, and I want you all to remember these answers and think about how they play into how you're going to play your character.
And after this, we're going to talk about connections, right? Like going off of this stuff, like between each other. Maybe.
Like use a couple of the Daggerheart ones.
Yeah, we'll use a couple of
If we got a
Daggerheart's
little bit
connection
of time.
questions, and then we'll we're gonna wrap up by 10.
Yeah.
So
Rad.
Okay. I'm going to give a 2-part answer.
Two-parter.
2-parter. The easy answer to this is Sparky.
I know.
Sparky and Flo have spent developmental years together and have been hunted, bolstered by each other, and grown together. Almost like siblings. So that's just an innate thing.
But you and I have a different kind of connection and trust that is more ethereal, more there's a relation between one of my experiences and your familial.
Ooh.
My experience that I'm referring to is what I like to call ethereal bent antenna. And it's a unclear sense. You can, to call it a sixth sense wouldn't really describe it in the perfect way. It's a level of communication that is deeply rooted in the world in a subparticulate level. And it's very similar to the way that you communicate with your crow.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Is there... I was going to say, well, what if they... How did that... Let's leave that for the story, I think. I think I'm digging too deep into this. I love that as just sort of the potential, the kind of... the potential that hangs in the air on that one to find out. It's sort of like when you learn about something in a story, but you don't quite know why it's happening yet, and that's what you want to find. Can we make sure to tap that at
exactly.
some point? Sick. That's fantastic.
Cool.
All right. We have one to go for Atticus, so let's find... What did you do the first time? You did...
Companion.
I did companion first time around, so no repeats on something that my dad just kind of said. We're having fun.
Witcher says one might say spark flows between them.
Oh my god.
That's awesome.
That's so
Bang.
funny.
Absolute bang.
I do love that.
That's perfect. All right, we got one to go. What are we gonna have Sparky do?
Sparky
The only tank in the party.
Sparky do what Sparky don't.
What do we got?
Yeah, you're gonna have to hold. You're gonna have to hold that.
Hold the line and block
So,
the bridge.
Question: You went Guardian.
Yeah.
Did you take bare bones?
No, I did not.
Oh, that's rare.
I did not take bare
I gotta
bones.
say, it is very OP.
I did not take bare bones because
Dreams.
Dream.
Oh, dreams. But do machines dream?
Do
I don't know, do they?
androids dream of
We're gonna-
electronic sheep? Oh, come on.
Do you count
Words.
Present was
Dreams.
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 Present.
Past.
Dreams.
See, you got a mixed bag.
Oh
of
yeah,
I did get a mixed bag.
Oh, yeah.
Dreams, present, past.
Well, it's 'cause I-
Dreams hit first, so we're gonna go with dreams.
Dreams.
We're up to 94 also.
Yeah,
Moving.
6 to go.
6 to go.
6 to go.
We love you all.
30 minutes to go. 6 to go. All right.
Call your aunt and have her follow.
Here. Call your aunt. All right, your dreams question. Do you have an end point or destination in mind for your journey?
Oh,
What would you do after you reached it?
oh, that's a good one.
Oh my god.
That's an existential.
Mortality question.
Wow. Factory reset.
So Sparky wants to protect. Sparky wants to know. And Sparky wants to understand. I think the end of their journey looks like Sparky coming to an understanding of what makes life. And not in like a physical or a kind of material sense. Like, what is it like to truly live? Is the question that they're always asking. Because they're aware that they're an inorganic being. They insist that they don't feel and that they don't, I don't know, have a life. But there is a paradoxical curiosity there. And part of me thinks that they'll never be satisfied. Part of me thinks that they want to be satisfied. Sparky, the end of their journey looks like Sparky coming to a conclusive definition of life. And spending that life endlessly protecting to make sure that that flow is safe, that everyone that they have charged themselves with protecting is endlessly secure, and how to live in that space, truly live.
And what happens when you come to the end of that journey? You don't have to answer.
I don't think they know.
Okay, that's fair.
It's almost like the Inigo Montoya, like, I've been in the revenge business so long, I don't know what to do with myself now that it's done.
Perfect.
Have you ever considered piracy? Terrible joke.
I think that's a great answer. Okay,
Yeah.
here's what we're gonna do. Number one, I love this deck. I think this is like really a inspiring deck. We're not plugging this thing. We're not back. I am gonna plug this thing. We're not backed by this, but this is the Ultimate RPG Campfire card deck by James D'Amato. This is what it looks like.
Awesome.
So check that out. If you want this for your tabletop sessions, look it up. I'm sure you can find it. And we're going to continue to use this. I think this thing is gold.
This is the second
like
time
this
we've
one.
done this.
Second
and
time
it's-
we've done it.
It's always fun.
It's really
I
great
don't-
for session zeros.
I don't know how we always manage to pull cards that are so fitting for our
Yeah.
character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we ran into that the last time. We ran into that this time. I don't know.
Heart of the cards.
And I think a bunch of the chat was
Yeah.
digging the cards. So,
yeah.
I think they're cool. It's
Yeah.
a cool mechanic.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's spend the last portion of this session just going through connections. So your connection questions are on your character sheet, and you should be able to. I think what we'll do is we'll go around and read one from our character sheet, and then just kind of flesh that out. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we also need to establish why we're together as a group. Like
Yeah.
As a whole, right?
Well, I think that's going to come through this.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll make that part of this, actually. Let's make that how we sort of point the answers to our questions a bit.
I have an idea. And we don't have to do this. But what if we roll a d4 for who we're asking the question to?
Wait,
That's perfect, actually.
because
That
I
is-
had
but-
such a good
but
question
here's the
for a
thing.
specific person.
Well,
Well, then
now
maybe
you gotta let the universe decide.
well, no. I think
maybe keep that one maybe to a specific person. If you have one,
I have an idea. If you can't decide who you want to ask the question to, roll the d4, right? And
Yeah.
we'll go Eric is 1, Garrett's 2, Rich is 3, and Olivia's 4, right?
Yeah.
But if you have a specific person you want to ask, by all means ask.
Awesome.
But let's just make sure that everybody gets covered in this somehow.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Rad.
Who wants to start?
fuck it, I'm starting it. Because I think
Bite the Andira. Kick it off.
knowing a little bit of Rich's backstory, because I watched Rich's video on his character creation.
Me too.
What about me frightens you?
Oh.
Whoa. You just asked Rich Rook.
Yeah.
What about me frightens you?
He's opening Pandora's box, and I'm gonna let him.
I cannot wait for this. Cannot wait.
So for the chat, there's a deep Simia related thing in Rook's past.
You want this, Garrett? You want this lore drop on this session 0? Get everybody hyped? I'll drop it.
That's up to you.
I'll drop it right now.
What about me frightens you, yo?
When I ratted out every last member of the Simia crime family, you were out of town that day on an assassination, and you came home to nothing. Bitch.
Wow.
I know you know, I know you know. You know, I know you know.
Yo.
We're deeply connected.
So
I
that's
got a
That's
little
what
hot,
they're calling it
chat.
these days.
Whoa.
That's metal as hell.
That's crazy.
Make me expose it, Garrett. Make me expose it.
I watched your video. I already.
All right, would you like
already
to?
I'll go next. I'll hop off that. Yeah.
Bounce off that.
Olivia,
Oh,
Oh,
why do we keep our shared past a secret?
oh,
oof. Oof is right.
That's like two-pronged because you just create a shared past.
Yeah.
yeah, now I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck.
Yeah.
Again?
He went akimbo backstory intertwining.
Spiely 76
One
says,
right, one left.
Wait,
Spiely
Spiely
76 says, a delayed bitch always hits hard. That's metal as hell.
I knew you were gonna do that as soon as I had Simia in my backstory and I heard you were playing a Simia. I'm like, I'm cooked. I'm fucking cooked.
All right, back to Olivia. Sorry, we took away
Oh
from
my
you.
god. No, I'm thinking. Why do we keep our shared past a secret? Because I'm still coming to terms with it.
Vague, but mysterious.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
I'm asking questions.
Yeah.
well, I think maybe you guys need to work on
You
that.
know what's really cool about this is a question that Garrett asked Rich gets very specifically into a component of the lore, but the question you asked Olivia touches on something that now leads to further development. I mean, they both do, but that's more vague and mysterious.
Something we could talk about before next week or something.
Yeah.
All right, Liv.
Now I don't know if I want to do the first question that I thought I was gonna do.
Roll for it.
Yeah.
Roll a duality
I'll
dice.
roll. Well, I'll roll the 4. I'll roll the 4. That's the one die I didn't take out today when I was taking out some dice.
We're at 95, y'all.
How have I not pulled out a 4 yet?
Yes to
I got it.
Spiely's comment. Yes.
All right, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
This is my own private domicile.
Eric. Why do you trust me so deeply?
That's good. That's
Is
good.
that on your
It's
sheet?
on my sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. That's the question I was gonna ask, and then I said I'm not gonna ask it. But then I rolled Eric, so I felt like it was fate telling me I had to ask him.
We gotta do it now.
Trust me.
Yep.
It's funny because it's on my sheet too.
No way.
Sorcerers.
Can we make up, questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely make up questions.
I wonder if the book has any.
Consult the documents.
I don't always know. I can't cite examples or give you reasons. But there's almost like a frequency oscillation that I feel it's like we ping off of each other. And that is a connection that is misunderstood or not understood by either one of us, but it's inherently there.
Can I bring in a Deckard Cain moment like a therapist?
Sure. Yeah.
I would probably say, well, Flocutus, trust is behavior over time. And so even though you might not have known Valeth for very long, perhaps in another lifetime you have.
go.
That was crazy.
That's crazy.
You're up, Eddie.
Wait, no. It's
Wait, no, Eric.
No, it's Eric.
Oh, it's Eric, because
Yeah.
Eric got the question.
Yeah.
My bad.
And you can make up the question.
Yeah, there are no extra examples in the book, but it does say you're
Right.
more than welcome
Right.
to create your own questions.
You could roll to make it interesting, if you wanted to. No pressure.
Carrot.
Oh, here it comes.
Bear
Poking
action.
the bear.
Get out of my head.
What about me do you not understand that causes you some type of strife?
Oh,
God.
oh.
Damn.
Something tells me this is not about the game.
Wow.
Bears on film.
Bears on film.
Are you guys okay?
Yeah, no, we're good.
Wow.
Good.
Shit. Now I wish I knew your character a little more so I could answer that just better.
Go with your gut.
I do not have time to read that.
Just go with
And
your
I
gut.
did not
Think
want
of
to.
what ancestry they
Did not want to
Yeah,
like.
Follow your heart.
So, okay, hit me really quick. It was you know, what essentially bothers me, or
Yeah, there's something about me that bothers you. What is it? How does it make you feel uncomfortable?
Beep boop bop.
You're dead.
You're all dead.
I honestly, so growing up in, you know, the gang atmosphere in this town and whatnot, I think the clank in you has there's a little mistrust that I have of especially sentient clanks. Like, it's still a new thing, and I think I'm kind of part of that. Like, I'm not fully against it, but something in me is like, you know, do they have too much, like, control? Like, to me, a clank, you know, was an object that was created for a task, and if you have sentience now, it's different. And there's a little mistrust that, you know, could they turn on you, or do they have full control, or etc. I think that's my concern. So I
That's
might
so
have the
tight.
same feeling about Sparky over there,
Yeah.
Word.
but
Makes you
I'm open
question.
to it.
It's fantastic.
But I still have this thing in the back of my head that it's like, you know, do they have full control? Are they just gonna go like nuclear one day?
This is so
Kinda
much
thing.
good stuff for GMs to like sort of absorb the week before we dig into this game. I'm like, okay, there's something really cool to work with.
He's like, ooh, let's do it.
We're
Let's
gonna
do it. Let's
poke that
poke
bear.
it. Poke that
Yeah.
bear. All right.
I'm gonna pet that dog.
Whew.
Hit him,
Well,
Garrett.
I already asked, so should we just bounce to Addy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because Addy hasn't asked yet.
Yeah. All right. I'm so indecisive, so I've picked individual questions for each of you, and I'm gonna roll for it.
Oh.
Wait, since you haven't answered one, can I ask Eddie one?
We'll let Eddie ask first.
Okay.
And
I
then
didn't know if
maybe
you wanted
you'll
to
get-
answer first.
I'll answer.
Yeah, whatever you want, actually.
Yeah, actually, let's do that, and then I'll roll and I'll
Okay.
ask a question. So hit me.
Just
What you
out
got?
of fairness. All right. Okay. I didn't have one ready, so I'm cooking. So just somebody monologue in the meantime.
1696 chat. We're almost there.
We need
4
more.
followers to go
Four
and
more
hit
in like
1700.
15 minutes.
The middle two digits.
And Spiely
Are quite
76
nice.
says object versus person. That's a whole ass story. Whew. That's fantastic.
I got you. You ready?
Okay.
We've cooked.
he
Fire
cooked.
away, fire away.
We've cooked.
I came to you
Oh,
during an investigation once. Why did I come to you? And maybe what was the investigation I was investigating?
okay. You came to me unintentionally. You were investigating a murder in a local junkyard when all of a sudden you heard this disturbing rattling and what sounded like an almost metallic humming, but not like the whirring of a machine, like a strangely metallic voice trying and failing to come up with a tune. And upon further investigation, rising up from behind one of the scrap piles was this 9-foot tall clank who looked down at you with an almost artificial curiosity. And we got to talking because of that curiosity. You asked me if I had seen anything near the murder site, asked me if I had anything to do with it. You were initially really skeptical. You and I looked around this junkyard briefly, and utilizing my instincts as well as my stature to lift heavy objects out of your way,
Yes.
we found a subterranean den of horrific serial killers. A chance encounter helped you completely disband an organized crime.
Wait, I don't know if we can hear you over the mics.
You have no idea.
And from then on, like, I wouldn't say we worked together too often, but maybe if you needed,
Maybe you became like an informant.
yeah, like an informant, or if you needed muscle that you were able to quickly get rid of, because Sparky is alarmingly sentient.
Yeah.
Sparky is capable of having full conversations, but with this, like, with the honesty and bluntness of a second grader. Like, one of the first things that I asked you was, why does your ponytail look like that? What are you? Like, this overwhelming strangeness. Something about it was intriguing to you.
Yeah. I think as someone pure in nature, almost untainted by the horrors of the world, I envied that in you and found a little solace.
Yeah.
So I think we maybe one might say acquaintances.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
God,
We'll talk more about this case
Yeah, shoot me a
of
text.
murders because that's
What a great answer. Oh my god.
way to dunk that.
That was like, it was gold.
And now I
What's
have
up there,
to.
Steve?
Now I'm gonna. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you just
Sit
took
on
that
it.
and dunked it.
I'm interested in these comments. Have you
Oh
read them?
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you not paid attention to the stream?
All right. Addie's,
So
Addie's
now
got
I'm
it.
gonna roll
Look
my
at the stream.
my d4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
In the video.
Fire away.
1.
Uh-oh.
High flow.
The deep backstory is gonna come
Yeah.
out.
What small gift did you give me that you notice I always carry around?
Oh.
One morning in the junkyard that we had been hiding in, shortly after my father disappeared, I noticed an unsettled feeling, almost a confusion in the way that you processed things. There was a perceptible hole in your being. Something left and you felt incomplete, and there was an intuitive understanding of that. Maybe because I was feeling something along the same lines, but as the sun rose and there was like an oily, sooty dew around the junkyard,
A glint of light hit this damp, grimy, muskrat-shaped stuffed animal. This tiny little threadbare stuffing pulled out of it, not full, almost like an empty sock of a muskrat. And I gave it to you. Didn't say anything about it. But we met eyes, and I handed it over to you, and you examined it. And you tucked it behind your back. And I never saw exactly where you store it. But every now and again, I look over you at night, and I see it in your hand.
I love everything about that.
That's adorable. Wow.
That's great.
Yeah, that was so good.
All right.
Muskrat shape.
Muskrat. Yeah, I don't know why muskrat.
A muskrat is, you
How
know,
the fuck do you come up with these things?
yeah. That one's kind of
Sick and
scary.
twisted individual.
So, Witcher OL in the chat found the Hat Man that Saturn put into the stream.
You did it as soon as I was cooking, man. I was not ready for it.
No. The Hat Man had been there for
Yeah,
a
it
very
was
long
there.
time.
The
Yeah.
Hat Man's been up for a
He's been
while,
watching?
It's been
but
there,
it's
yes.
pretty discreet. And
It's been there
it's-
for a while.
yeah, I know that Saturn's going to make it better next time. It's going to be harder to find.
Yeah.
Hat Man's going to appear. So
so
listen,
excited for
Witcher
it.
OL, if you get on our Discord and if you want to either DM me, I'm on there as what's my
Something
Isn't it-
GM.
It's Wither and Bloom Studios GM or
Yeah.
your benevolent DM.
Yeah, it's your
benevolent
benevolent
GM
GM.
or you,
No, you're
I think I'm Game Master Todd.
now.
Yeah.
yeah, Game Master
Yeah.
Todd. DM me, and if you send me your address, I'll send you some dice. I'll send you one of our really, really cool Wither and Bloom stickers. Yeah, nice job. This was so freaking much fun tonight.
we got 6 minutes left.
We need four people.
We need four people to follow to get us
Four
to
people.
1,700.
Come on.
I have to
6
shout
minutes.
out Jay, who has done Hatman art.
No way.
Already.
Jay, I'm gonna show this off because you're incredible.
Wait,
This
ask Jay if that's okay.
Jay, is this okay? Can you comment in the chat if I can show off this art? Because I'll put it on a shirt.
This is wild.
While we wait.
He
for
turned that around way too quick.
This
Jay,
was fun.
Hit us up. Todd, one last thing.
Yeah.
Do we need to know how we're immediately a group? Or is that something we can figure out in session 1?
I think that's something you should think about during the week. I think you've given yourselves enough connections. I think one thing that is important is, and I didn't hear a lot of this in backstory, I did hear some, is where are you from? I know that the two of you are from Amicora. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the rest of you are natively from Amicora or not. Are you?
Yeah, I am.
You are.
So we all are.
Yeah.
We all are from. Okay, great. So that establishes us at
Yeah,
least
go right ahead.
as
We got the green light.
as locals. You can show it.
I can show it.
Let's throw it up there.
Hatman art. We have...
The camera's not.
Camera's not gonna pick that
Oh,
up.
back.
Hold on.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
dang.
damn.
What
Says,
What does it say?
Fondle of Fear.
Fondle of
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Come
There it
on. All right, so Ravenflight.
Now,
who's doing-
wait. We ain't done.
Oh,
We're not done? Oh, wait, there's more. Back up.
tilt it forward.
Fondle of Hope.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, we got to get those made into
Oh
animal
my
pins
God.
or
We
need
stickers.
those.
or
Oh my
something.
God.
Stickers or something? Oh,
Jay, I will
Pins.
buy a shirt.
I'm buying
This
that
is
shirt.
crazy.
No, yeah, I think I
That
might
was
need one.
so fast.
Yeah, no,
Right?
the quickest turnaround
definitely
of
need that.
all time.
So listen,
No, not the dice sack. Like it's
come on,
No,
that's
this is
perfect.
I wanted
it's
a nail
fondle.
pin
Yeah,
so bad.
Yeah.
Two
Hands up
enamel
in the
pins.
chat who would buy that shirt.
yeah. Come on, I'm
Oh,
buying.
we went up 2 subscribers.
Two to go. Two to go.
more. It's
Somebody's
gonna turn
holding
into
out. Someone's holding out because they want to be 1,700.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's
It's me. I'm
happening.
over here unsubscribing and resubscribing.
Wow.
I'm kidding. It's not me.
It's like a Jerry Lewis telethon right now. We just need 2 more subscribers before we sign off.
That's right. But if you pledge on a monthly basis, listen,
Not only will you get this nice Wither and
read
Bloom
this
tote.
comment from
Yeah.
Speely.
so Speely76 says, before this ends, I'd just like to say that having just found this group, I am enamored and totally invested. Thanks for
gosh.
putting this together. Oh my God.
Yippee!
Thank you. That feels
That's awesome.
That feels really good, and we really appreciate that. That's beautiful.
Having the community with us in these past 2 live streams has been a game changer.
I know.
It's
I know.
so fun.
We had at least 3 people during the marathon that were there for the entire
Like
17
That's
hours.
crazy.
Yeah,
That's
like
crazy.
the whole thing.
Insane.
That was
love
absolutely. That was Bun Bun Riri, Eric, and Warrior 88.
Yeah,
The
and
3
honorable mentions were Ravenflight.
Raven.
And,
Ravenflight was there for the whole thing.
Yeah,
100%.
and then
Yeah.
Rabbit.
And Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is good. Listen,
I
just
do
so you-
enjoy the appropriate sack.
Sack
The
line.
sack leg
Yeah,
looking.
That.
Oh, 16.99.
Oh!
Oh my God, you could be subscriber 1700.
Could be you.
Could
Could
it.
be you.
Make our
It's
night.
gonna come. It's gonna happen. Listen, while
Maybe
we were
we'll make
waiting
a
for
shirt
that,
In the last
Okay.
couple minutes, man. What the
that's
heck?
A sweet
freaking
low back.
awesome.
Let's
Awesome.
go.
All right, so thanks for that. Now listen,
God.
really quickly before we sign off, session 1 of A Clockwork Silence is going to be Tuesday night, July 8th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Meet us back here next week. The week after that, on the 15th, we will have an off week because there's some scheduled stuff, and then we will be back on the 22nd and the 29th for sessions 2 and 3. So by the time July is out, we will have finished Clockwork Silence. We will have a campaign frame module for you to download as a PDF. And hopefully, we're going to add another nice chunk to this narrative. You guys were awesome tonight. Thank
The
you
delay
so
is called
much.
to the chat.
Look at
Yeah,
What's
thank
that?
you so much.
Oh my God, we got to 1702.
Oh my God!
It was
That's
awesome.
nuts.
All right, let's get to
We're over
1800
here.
before we go off tonight.
We're over here going nuts, and then the delay in the chat,
So
and
now
then
they're all
seeing
nuts.
everyone going nuts in the chat. It's still going.
That's
It's at
awesome.
1703 now.
Speely says, I was here. Curtis says, yay. Clay
Speely
says,
said-
let's go.
I love Eric
Locked
says
in,
I
thanks,
was at
Max.
work.
Yeah.
I wasn't here.
Thank you for your honesty. Thank
Thanks,
you.
nerds.
Yes.
Ooh.
Talking to Jay, look forward to that fucking shirt if we can. if we can get that on there.
I'll get the shirt.
I can't
hammered
wait
out
to
as
see all
fast
the
as I can.
character art.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked.
It's gonna be
about
great.
that.
Oh, I'm stoked about the character. art.
But damn,
I'm
Batman.
so excited to learn more about our assassin here.
Yeah, me too.
All right, that being said, we will see you all next Tuesday night. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching, and have a
Yeah.
great week. All right?
Rock
We'll talk to
on.
you very soon.
Adios.
Thanks. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, the fade out.